Chapter 2004. At the foot of the Sword Peak. Look, the Sword Domain is closed. Senior Jezite hasn't been teleported out yet. Looks like he's really not even 100 years old. No wonder he's the #1 genius of Green Island. The Sword Domain map has appeared. Someone has actually entered the second layer of the Sword Domain. The entrance to the Sword Domain had been sealed, but there were still many cultivators gathered at the foot of the Sword Peak. They were here to observe the situation of this year's Sword Domain cultivators. When the Sword Realm was closed, a huge formation screen would appear above the peak of the Sword Mountain. The formation screen showed the situation in each layer of the Sword Realm. Every cultivator who challenged the Sword Domain would be shown as a red dot on the array screen. When the red dot disappeared, it meant that the challenger had failed and left the Sword Domain. It was also possible that the challenger had died in the Sword Domain. At this moment, the tens of thousands of cultivators gathered at the foot of the Sword Peak had their eyes on the second layer of the array screen. There was already a red dot there. Someone really stepped into the second layer of the Sword Domain. The Sword Domain has just closed. This person's speed is too fast. The cultivator who stepped into the second layer of the Sword Domain seems to be Qin Fun. I heard that he's being chased by the forces of Green Island's Nanming Temple. Didn't the first prince of Nanming Temple, Jezite, also enter the Sword Domain? In this situation, Qin Fun still has the mood to challenge the Sword Domain. After the crowd recognized the identity of the cultivator who entered the second layer of the Sword Domain, discussions surged like a surging tide. Li Shanshan's worried heart finally relaxed a little. She knew that Qin Fun had just entered the Sword Domain and didn't meet with any danger. This meant that Qin Fun had temporarily escaped from Jezite. Qi Longxin was shocked by Qin Fun's strength. He had known Qin Fun for less than a month, but he couldn't understand this good brother of his. Even Xian Hai was shocked by Qin Fun's challenge speed. When he first challenged the Sword Domain, he spent 4 hours to comprehend the first layer and enter the second layer. Who would have thought that Qin Fun was even faster than him? The first layer of the Sword Domain didn't even form a realm. It's just a virtual realm. Some people can only count themselves lucky. Seeing that Qin Fun had become the center of attention, Hai Qiji snorted. Qi Longxing had long found this old demon cultivator an eyesore. If this was the 3 northern islands, he would definitely call some of his uncles over to teach Hai Qiji a lesson. Some old farts are getting jealous, saying that the grapes are sour because they can't eat them. There are at least 40 to 50,000 cultivators challenging the Sword Domain this time. So why did Brother Qin get lucky and enter the second level of the Sword Domain? If you have the ability, let me have a look at that disciple of yours. Hai Qiji was fuming with rage. If it wasn't for the fact that Qi Longxing was the 8th son of the Black Snake King, he would have squashed this ant to death on the spot. Isn't it just entering the second level of the Sword Domain? What's there to be proud of? Every year, who knows how many cultivators can step into the second level of the Sword Domain? What does that mean? Hai Qiji harumphed coldly. Of course it doesn't mean anything. Then what the hell are you blabbering on about? You old fart. Qi Longxing spoke without restraint. As the son of the Black Snake King, he still had this bit of arrogance and willfulness. Hai Qiji's body trembled violently, and he almost fainted from anger. He closed his eyes, too lazy to argue with Qi Longxing. But right at this moment, a scream suddenly sounded from the foot of the mountain. The third level of the Sword Domain. Young hero Qin has entered the third level of the Sword Domain. Fuck, are my eyes playing tricks on me? He really entered the third level of the Sword Domain. Could it be that there's something wrong with the Sword Domain? It's only been the time for 2 incense sticks to burn since the Sword Domain started. To be able to step into the third level of the Sword Domain in 2 incense sticks time, I'm afraid this achievement hasn't been seen in the past 100 years. Hai Qiji's face, which was already as cold as frost, was now completely frozen. Li Shanshan and Qi Longxing were dumbfounded. They were so shocked that they couldn't even speak. Xian Hai suddenly raised his head to the sky and let out a long roar. It was as if he was shouting out all the emotions he had been suppressing in the past few years. I knew I wasn't wrong about you. Young hero Qin is even stronger than I thought. Qianfen couldn't hear the heated discussion from the crowd outside. At this moment, he was in a vast and empty canyon. It was as if he had returned to the place where he had first entered the sword domain. However, the magnetic field around him was completely different. The aura was extremely familiar, and it reminded Qianfen of his own realm. After going through the training field and the swamp, Qianfen had some guesses. He suspected that he was already challenging the sword domain, and that he was currently in the 3rd level of the sword domain. No wonder he couldn't find the entrance to the formation in the sword domain. It was because this place was completely different from the 13 palaces. There was no need to search for the entrance to the higher levels. Instead, one could step into the higher levels by challenging the formation. Fog floated in the vast canyon. The fog grew thicker and thicker, and visibility was already less than 5 meters. Qianfen wandered aimlessly in the canyon alone. He wanted to find other cultivators and ask if this was the 3rd level of the sword domain. However, there was no one else in the vast canyon. Moreover, it was difficult for his divine sense to extend beyond kilometer. Just when Qianfen was at a loss for what to do in the canyon, the fog that filled the sky suddenly revolved. It was as if heaven and earth were revolving along with it, causing people to feel dizzy. Buzz! A familiar magnetic field surged out from the fog. The rapidly revolving fog suddenly stopped, and a strange scene of a solidified vortex formed in the air. The fog vortex seemed to be frozen in the air. Even the sound of the wind stopped, and people couldn't help but look at it. Xiao! Just when Qianfen was engrossed in watching, he heard the sound of wind behind him. The sound of the wind breaking was extremely ear-piercing. A flying sword streaked across like a meteor and flew past Qianfen's arm. Xiao! 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 When the sword missed, more sharp swords flew out from all directions. Each flying sword brought with it a sharp sound of wind. Just the ear-piercing sound was enough to make people's hair stand on end. A layer of goosebumps appeared on Qianfen's body. He could feel the aura of death quickly enveloping him. It was as if every corner of this canyon was filled with killing intent. This is the sword domain's major success. Qianfen's eyes suddenly lit up. He had figured out the truth of the canyon. This wasn't the canyon that he had entered this sword domain from. It was a realm space. At this moment, the realm had already reached major success. Everything in the realm was frozen. If he hadn't comprehended the realm to major success, he would have been trapped in this space and had his heart pierced by thousands of swords. After figuring out the danger, Qianfen felt a lingering fear. He realized that this sword domain was an extremely dangerous place. Challenging the sword domain could very well cost him his life. Fortunately, he had absorbed over 1,000 soul crystals not long ago, which allowed his divine sense to break through again and helped him comprehend major success. Otherwise, he would have died in the 3rd level of the sword domain. Qianfen immediately urged his thoughts. The magnetic field on his body underwent a huge change, causing the magnetic field around him to change as well. A small area of vacuum appeared in the original canyon. That area formed Qianfen's realm. It was as if he was isolated from the world. After the realm was formed, Qianfen instantly felt extremely relaxed. He even had a way to expand the realm, and even completely engulf the canyon's realm. However, he didn't do that. Instead, he let the canyon's realm engulf his realm time and time again. Then, he formed a new realm. This repeated over and over again. After a day, Qianfen discovered that his technique of displaying his domain had become even more exquisite. It was as if he could instantly form his domain within a radius of 100 meters with just a thought. He had finally comprehended the essence of the sword domain. This wasn't a place to challenge and become famous, but a place to comprehend and consolidate one's domain. Another day passed. Qianfen knew that his realm had completely consolidated at major success. At this moment, a voice seemed to appear in his mind. That voice was asking him to make a choice. He could either leave the sword domain or enter a new area. Qianfen could confirm his previous guess. There was no way to find an entrance to a higher level in the sword domain. Only by continuously challenging could he advance step by step. Faced with the choice before him, Qin Fen hesitated. Based on his analysis of the challenges over the past few days, he had his own understanding of the sword domain. The sword domain had a total of 9 levels. Every 3 levels was a huge divide. The first 3 levels were within the realm. When one reached the 4th level, there was a high chance that they would leave the field. Qin Fen had seen a real field before. Back at the Autumn Leaf Pavilion, Senior Xian Hai had displayed an incomparably ferocious field. Even though Qin Fen had tried his best to use his realm to break the move, he could only feel endless despair. Realm and field were 2 completely different concepts. Qin Fen knew that he was on the verge of comprehending the field. He really wanted to continue staying in this canyon to comprehend the existence of the field. However, he knew that there were only realms here. No matter how long he stayed here, he would only be able to continuously strengthen his realm. He would never be able to comprehend the true essence of the field. Since I'm already here, there's no way out. I want to see just how powerful the field is. After thinking for a while, Qin Fen used his will. The environment around him changed drastically. He had already stepped into the 4th level of the sword domain. The spacious canyon disappeared. He was now in a field of ice and snow. However, he didn't feel the cold that he should have felt. Qin Fen immediately realized that he had already stepped into the 4th level of the sword domain. Without thinking, he immediately stepped on his flying sword and sped through the spacious field of ice and snow. He didn't know if there was a field here. He wanted to take the initiative and gain the initiative. After flying for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he didn't see any other cultivators in the snowy field. Qin Fen guessed that his speed was too fast. It was very likely that the other cultivators hadn't even stepped into the 2nd level of the sword domain. He still suspected that even Jezite hadn't stepped into the 4th level of the sword domain. Otherwise, he would have charged over long ago. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Qin Fen suddenly heard a violent sound. The snowy ground beneath his feet trembled. Avalanches appeared on the snowy mountains around him. It was another rare sight. However, Qin Fen wasn't in the mood to admire this scenery. Instead, he raised his guard. This was because in the 3rd level of the sword domain, a canyon suddenly formed when the fog formed into a vortex. 1. As expected, a unique magnetic field rose up from the snowy ground. Even though Qin Fen was prepared, when the magnetic field formed, his body, which was flying at high speed in the air, suddenly stopped. There were even a few traces of wind that were left behind by the solidification of the wind. Chapter 2005. Qin Fen was frozen in midair. The domain formed in the snow was so fast that he didn't even have the chance to prepare. However, the surrounding magnetic field had become unfamiliar. Qin Fen immediately realized that this was not a domain, but a field. The sudden appearance of the snowy field made Qin Fen uneasy. However, at this moment, a vague sense of death came from behind him. He heard the familiar sharp hum of a sword. Even though Qin Fen couldn't turn around to look, he guessed that it was another flying sword attack. The sword chi was ferocious and seemed to pierce through time and space. Qin Fen's back instantly broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't move in this snowy field. If he was hit by the sword, he would be blown into pieces instantly. Break! At this moment of life and death, he couldn't care so much anymore. He immediately activated his sea of consciousness and concentrated all of his divine sense power in one spot. A loud sound seemed to come from his sea of consciousness. A ferocious divine sense attack surged out and instantly cut the space several meters around Qin Fen, forming a domain that belonged to him. Qin Fen dodged to the side immediately. The flying sword whizzed past, scratching his sleeve and leaving a deep bloody wound on his right arm. However, Qin Fen didn't have time to check his injury. He realized that the domain he had painstakingly formed was disappearing quickly. The magnetic field in the snowy field seemed to have a powerful devouring ability and was quickly filling up his domain. Sword hum sounded everywhere. When countless flying swords shot over, Qin Fen had no room to dodge. His white robe was torn into pieces and his body was covered in bloody wounds. There were even a few swords that almost pierced through his body and head. He was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. The domain kept forming and was devoured by the field and the snowy field. Qianfen gradually felt the exhaustion in his sea of consciousness. In the past, he only needed to use the domain once to kill a strong opponent. Now, he was in an endless loop and was about to be killed by the flying swords. The cultivators gathered at the foot of the sword peak couldn't see the danger in the sword domain. When Qianfen's light stepped into the fourth sword domain, the crowd was completely excited. It's the fourth sword domain. Young hero Qin only used 3 days to enter the fourth sword domain. This is a peerless genius that hasn't appeared in 100 years. I suspect that young hero Qin isn't at Nihility God Realm level 3. He must have hidden his cultivation and eaten some beautifying elixir. So what if you're right? Since senior Qianfen is able to enter the sword domain, then he must be a cultivator within 100 years of age. Even Grey Island's #1 genius demon cultivator, Jezite, has only stepped into the 3rd layer of the sword domain. It can be seen that senior Qianfen's innate talent is higher than Jezite's. Everyone was shocked by Qianfeng's speed. Even the arrogant and conceited Hai Qiji was silent at this moment. Brother Xian Hai, you have a good eye. Based on young swordsman Qin's speed of challenging so easily, it's only a matter of time before he enters the 5th level of sword domain. I'm afraid it's been over 100 years since an expert has stepped into the 5th level of sword domain in the South Flat Continent. Young swordsman Qin will become famous overnight. Protector Li Tian of the 80-kilometer city ran over to congratulate Qianfen. However, Xian Hai didn't show any signs of excitement. He knew Qianfen's situation very well. Qianfen had already reached the large success stage, so it wouldn't be a problem for him to challenge the first 3 layers of the sword domain. However, it would be difficult for him to enter the 4th layer of the sword domain, because the 4th layer of the sword domain was the embryonic form of the arena. Although it wasn't a true field, its nature was already completely different from a realm. Back then, at the Autumn Leaf Pavilion, Xian Hai had purposely displayed a field in front of Qianfen. His goal was to let Qianfen prepare. As for whether Qianfen could successfully challenge the 4th layer of the sword domain, that would depend on his own luck. It's hard to say until the end. I hope young hero Qin can break through his limits. Xian Hai no longer cared about the quota for this competition. He just hoped that Qianfen wouldn't be too burdened. After all, the sword domain was extremely dangerous, and if he forced himself to challenge it, there was a high chance that he would die. Young hero Qin, the heavens will help the worthy. Brother Xinhai doesn't have to worry. Li Tian consoled. I hope so. Xinhai nodded. At this moment, Qianfen had been trapped in the 4th level of the sword domain for over an hour. During this time, he continuously gathered his divine sense and displayed his realm, fighting against the field and the snow. This process consumed a lot of divine sense, but Qianfen discovered that the realm he displayed now could last for a longer time. This change was very strange. It was as if the realm he displayed had become more powerful and could last longer under the devouring of the field. Master, you've comprehended the edge of the field. Little Pig's surprised voice sounded. Qianfen immediately perked up. He looked at the realm he displayed again, and found that there was indeed a subtle change. In the past, the realm he displayed would change the magnetic field of an area. Now, the realm within a 10-meter radius around him had formed more than a dozen smaller realms. These realms complemented each other, but the magnetic field between them was slightly different. Because there were more realms, the speed at which the field and the snow devoured the realm slowed down. I see. Qianfen revealed an expression of sudden realization. He mumbled to himself, the field is actually the sublimation of the realm. It's turning the few realms into many, forming a repetitive and complex realm. Qianfen didn't know if his guess was correct. He immediately gathered his divine sense according to his new train of thought. When his divine sense spread out, it formed more than a dozen different realms around him. These realms were connected to each other, and new changes occurred. From one to many, and from many to new realms. These realms were complex and ever-changing. In other words, they were no longer realms, but an even more powerful field. Qianfen quickly realized that his guess was correct. When a new realm was formed, the area around him became independent, and the field and the snow could no longer devour it. Even the flying swords that entered the area Qianfen displayed immediately froze in the air. Your damn snow field almost killed me. Now it's time for me to devour you. Qianfen was extremely excited. He immediately used his divine sense to expand his realm. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, his realm had expanded to a radius of several thousand meters. Everything in this realm was still, and the magnetic field in the realm was constantly changing, making it difficult to grasp. So this is the field. It's really powerful. Qianfen was sure that he had comprehended the edge of the field. If he used the field a few more times, he would soon reach the small success stage. At this moment, the old voice sounded again. It was asking Qianfen to choose whether to stay in the snow field or enter the 5th level of the sword domain. Qianfen wasn't in a hurry to enter the 5th level of the sword domain. He knew that he had only just touched the edge of the field. According to the previous pattern, the 5th level of the sword domain was the place to reach the small success stage. Moreover, it was rumored that those who could step into the 5th level of the sword domain were almighty with exceptional talent. Qianfen realized that the 5th level of the sword domain wasn't simple. He planned to consolidate the field that he had just comprehended in the snow field before challenging the 5th level of the sword domain. Chapter 2006. Another 2 days passed, and Qianfen had completely grasped the existence of the field. 2 days ago, when he had just stepped into this world of ice and snow, he was instantly frozen in the sky by the field, and he was almost killed by the flying sword. Now, Qianfen could move freely in the snowy field, and he could control the range of the snowy field as he pleased. Qianfen realized that it was a waste of time for him to continue staying in the 4th level of the sword domain. This place could only allow him to comprehend the existence of the field, but if he wanted to achieve small success in the field, he had to challenge the 5th level of the sword domain. Just as he was about to enter the 5th level of the sword domain, he heard an angry roar coming from behind him. "Ant with the surname Qin, this old man has finally found you. You have exceeded this old man's expectations to actually step into the 4th level of the sword domain so quickly." Qianfen's expression changed greatly. It was actually Gerst who had caught up to him. He immediately wanted to enter the 5th level of the sword domain, but before he could activate his thoughts, he realized that Gerst had suddenly stopped in midair. His body was still in a charging posture, and his black robe was still floating behind him, maintaining the state of fluttering. Behind him, there were also traces of the airflow solidifying, exactly the same as when Qianfen had first stepped into the 4th level of the sword domain. What's going on? The 4th level of the sword domain is actually the field? Gerst could still speak. Qianfen's thoughts of leaving suddenly disappeared, and without thinking, he slashed his sword at Gerst. The sword light was like a rainbow, piercing through the icy air. Gerst's expression changed greatly, and he roared to the sky, "You human ant! How dare you!" Rumble. Before he could finish his words, a loud sound exploded on his body, and his black robe was instantly torn apart, revealing a layer of silver-white armor underneath. That armor was a low-grade true weapon, and it was not damaged by the surging sword Qi. Qianfen instantly frowned. He did not know whether it was right or wrong to attack Gerst when he had just entered the 4th level of the sword domain. Bang, bang, bang. Chaotic thoughts flashed through his mind, and Qianfen once again launched several fierce attacks. He and Gerst had already become mortal enemies, and if he did not seize this opportunity to kill him, he would always be a huge hidden danger in the future. However, his opponent's cultivation base was too high. It was not something that Qianfen could withstand with his current cultivation base. Even though Jezite was trapped in the snow and could not move, Qianfen's attacks were completely useless against him. It was as if a child's fist had landed on a boxer's body. Gerst had already calmed down. When he realized that even if he stood there and let Qianfen hit him, Qianfen wouldn't be able to do anything to him, Gerst laughed arrogantly. "Ha ha! As expected of an ant-like human, you don't even have the ability to kill this old man." truly pitiful and laughable. Xiao. As he spoke, a sharp whistling sound rang out. Before Qin Feng could clearly see the trajectory of the flying sword, Gerst's right shoulder was instantly pierced through, and blood spurted out incessantly. Ayaya, this damned snowy field. If it wasn't for the existence of this field, I would have killed you hundreds of times over. Gerst roared furiously. After that, he started to activate his divine sense to resist the binding of the field. Qin Feng was momentarily stunned. When he had just entered the fourth layer of the sword domain, he had also been attacked by flying swords. However, the flying swords that attacked him were not as ferocious as the flying sword just now. That flying sword was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, carrying with it a destructive and ferocious true essence. It was completely comparable to the attack unleashed by an almighty cauldron-filling state expert. Xiao xiao xiao. While Qin Feng was in a daze, numerous whistling sounds of the wind could be heard. Sharp swords continuously shot out from the snowy field, all of them flying towards Gerst. Every long sword was like a rainbow, drawing out a resplendent radiance in the snowy field. This was the first time Qin Feng had seen such a ferocious sword force. It was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. Understand now. This sword domain has its own sword array, and the sword array changes according to the cultivation base of different cultivators. Qin Feng suddenly understood. He looked at Gerst, who was struggling within the sword array, and was overjoyed. Because Gerst had stepped into the cauldron-filling state, the sword array that attacked him also followed the attack of a cauldron-filling state expert. As Qin Feng sighed at the power of the sword domain, he immediately used his divine sense to form a field. Although he had no way to kill Gerst with his own cultivation base, he could use the field to disturb his opponent and then use the sword array within the sword domain to kill Gerst. When he used his divine sense, a gray space formed around Qin Feng's body. That space originally only had a radius of 12 meters, but it rapidly expanded to the surroundings. Human, you dare to trick this old man. I will make you die a horrible death. Gerst was worthy of being the #1 genius among the demon cultivators of Green Island. Under such a dangerous situation, he actually broke the snow field. However, before Gerst could escape, Qin Feng's arena arrived. The dusky world enveloped him, and his voice was cut off midway through his shout. The gray fog resonated with the world of ice and snow, forming a spectacular scene. Gerst was not in the mood to enjoy the scenery. The moment the gray field appeared, his body, which had just felt free, was instantly restrained again. This time, even speaking became difficult. The nature of the field and the domain were the same, but they were completely different. There were many small domains in the field, and the magnetic fields of these domains were ever-changing. Breaking them wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. Gerst had only just comprehended the existence of the field. He could break the field in the snow because he could find the pattern of the changes in the field here. However, he couldn't break the field that Qin Feng had created in a short period of time because the field was man-made and could change at any time. As if sensing Gerst's situation, the flying swords in the snow surged out violently. The sword rays pierced through the clouds, like a meteor shower falling from the sky. Gerst's eyes revealed a rare expression of panic. He felt the aura of death that he hadn't felt for a long time. Wow! Senior Gerst has also stepped into the fourth layer of the sword domain. Senior Qin Feng has already stayed in the fourth layer of the sword domain for 4 days. But there hasn't been any movement. Haha! Ant with the surname Qin, let's see where you can escape to this time. Not only did the number of cultivators at the foot of the sword peak not decrease, but there were also more and more. Many cultivators knew that a god had appeared in the sword domain this year, and had stepped into the fourth layer of the sword domain in a short 3 days, so they came from nearby to watch. The situation had changed drastically again. Gerst had entered the fourth layer of the sword domain. This made Hai Chi-ji and the others, who had been keeping a straight face, burst with joy. They were certain that Qin Feng would definitely die this time. It's over, it's over. Gerst has entered the fourth layer of the sword domain. Will something happen to Qin Feng? Li Shanshan's eyes were moist. Who knew how many times she had cried? Qi Longxin's originally excited mood was completely gone. He didn't even have the mood to bicker with Hai Qiji. He could only stare anxiously at the formation screen above the sword peak. Brother Xian Hai, you don't look too good. Isn't it just a sword domain competition? Do you need to be so serious? You've been last place for the past few years anyway. One more time won't matter. Hai Qiji walked over with a smile. Qi Longxin glared at him. He opened his mouth and closed it again. His gaze fell back on the formation screen, and his knuckles cracked. Hai Qiji, don't look for trouble. No matter how good Xian Hai's temper was, he was angry now. Why would I look for trouble? I'm just stating a fact. Brother Xian Hai, there's no need to be so angry. Many cultivators die in the sword domain every year. It's normal for Qin Feng to die. Hai Qiji didn't back down. True essence surged from Xian Hai's body. The atmosphere seemed to explode. However, at this moment, a cry of surprise came from the crowd. It disappeared. The light disappeared. Sigh. Although I already guessed that young hero Qin would die, I didn't expect him to die so quickly. If Gerst didn't kill Qin Feng, perhaps Qin Feng's name would be known throughout the South Flat Continent. Unfortunately, there can't be two tigers on one mountain. There can't be two peerless geniuses. Hearing the discussion of the crowd, Xian Hai's aura dissipated. He shook his head and sighed with a disappointed expression. Li Shanshan was so frightened that she fell to the ground. She cried helplessly for Qin Feng's name. Qi Longxin's nails dug into his flesh, but he didn't realize it. He couldn't accept the news of Brother Qin's death. He couldn't help but look at the formation screen. Brother Qin's red dot is still there? It's Gerst who died, Qi Longxin exclaimed. The crowd came to their senses and looked at the formation screen again. Previously, they had only noticed that a red had disappeared from the fourth layer of the formation screen. Instinctively, they thought that Qin Feng had died. Now that they looked carefully, they were sure that Gerst's red dot had disappeared. How is this possible? Isn't Gerst a cauldron-filling state mighty figure? How could he have died in Qin Feng's hands? He might have died in the process of challenging the sword domain. A cauldron-filling state mighty figure. Even such a powerful being could die in the sword domain. Looks like the path of cultivation is a long one. Unless one becomes a true god and flies into the immortal world, one can truly live forever. Otherwise, one is just an ant-like existence that can be destroyed at a whim. Gerst's death caused a huge uproar in the crowd. In the South Flat Continent, those who could reach the cauldron-filling state were already considered top-notch cultivators. However, if such an unreachable mighty figure could be destroyed at a whim, how could the other cultivators survive? Hai Qiji's expression turned cold once again. He was like a chameleon. Qi Longxin and the rest heaved a long sigh of relief. Then, they revealed an extremely shocked expression. Others might not be sure how Gerst had died, but Xian Hai and Qi Longxin were sure that he had been killed by Qin Feng. This was because Gerst had already reached the cauldron-filling state and had comprehended the boundary of the field. It was impossible for a mighty figure like him to die naturally in the fourth layer of the sword domain, unless it was man-made. Although they knew that it was Qin Feng who had killed Gerst, Xian Hai and Qi Longxin found it hard to believe. They couldn't imagine the situation in the sword domain. What method did Qin Feng use to kill Gerst, who was at the cauldron-filling state? P.S. Last night, I changed the chapter into a repetitive release. Please forgive me for the inconvenience caused to some readers. This chapter has over 2,900 words. I'll only charge 2,000 words. The extra 900 words are free for everyone to read. This month's rush to the rankings. If readers still have monthly tickets, please vote for old do. Thank you very much. Chapter 2007. In the fourth layer of the sword domain, there were violent explosions. When Jess' primordial spirit exploded in the world of ice and snow, even Qin Feng felt that it was inconceivable. Even a cauldron-filling state expert had fallen in the sword domain. It could be seen how powerful this sword domain was. Qin Feng immediately became very interested in the sword formations in the sword domain. These sword formations existed along with the realm and the field. Every time a realm or field was formed in the sword domain, the sword formations would automatically attack. Those sword techniques were somewhat familiar, but Qianfen couldn't recall where he had seen them before. Soon, he shook his head. The sword formations in the sword domain were profound and difficult to understand. They gave off an ancient aura. It was impossible for him to have seen them before. Jess's death made Qianfen realize an important thing. Although his cultivation was only considered average among the tens of thousands of cultivators challenging the sword domain, his understanding of the realm and field was absolutely unique. With this advantage, Qianfen was completely invincible in the sword domain. Even Jest, who was a cauldron-filling state, died in his hands. How could other cultivators do anything to him? After thinking through these key issues, Qianfen immediately heaved a sigh of relief. This time, there were many of his enemies among the cultivators participating in the sword domain challenge. For example, the body condensation intermediate stage disciple sent by Hai Qiji and the body condensation late stage disciple sent by Yin Fei. Now, he didn't have to worry about those people at all. After the crisis was resolved, Qianfen finally remembered the treasure map that Aka gave him. When he opened the extremely detailed map of Green Island, Qianfen quickly found the location of the treasure. It was actually in the 5th layer of the sword domain. As for the treasure that Aku was looking for, Qianfen was quite looking forward to it. Although Aku's Dantian was damaged, and she had no cultivation, she could casually take out a level 8 spiritual grass. The flying sword she used was even a supreme grade cultivation weapon. How could such a woman be simple? However, Qianfen wasn't in a hurry to enter the 5th layer of the sword domain. In his opinion, the 5th layer of the sword domain was definitely a small success test. He had just comprehended the edge of the field. If he rashly went in, it was very likely that he would die. What Qianfen was afraid of now was not the field, but the sharp flying swords hidden in the field. Those flying swords formed sword formations, which were much stronger than some of the high-level sword techniques he had now. Qianfen decided to stay in the 4th layer of the sword domain. He devoured the snow field to consolidate his control over his field while refining some fragrant consciousness pills. 3 days later, Qianfen was able to skillfully control the release and spread of the field. At the same time, he also refined 3 bottles of perfumed consciousness pills in case his sea of knowledge was damaged or his divine sense was exhausted. It seemed that everything was ready, but he was still a little worried. He simply began to forge weapons, intending to completely stabilize his level of weapon forging at the level of a spiritual weapon master. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qianfen could already easily forge low-grade spirit weapons. His success rate went from 30% to 70%. Among spirit weapon masters of the same level, this was already a very high success rate. Master, if you're not confident, then don't go to the 5th level of the sword domain. Little Pig knew Qianfen's thoughts the best, so he suddenly spoke up to advise him. After killing Jezite, Qianfen had spent 7 days in the 4th layer of the sword domain. Indeed, he hadn't made sufficient preparations, and he couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Qianfen, who had experienced too many life and death situations, had an extremely accurate sixth sense. He realized that the 5th layer of the sword domain was definitely more dangerous than the world of ice and snow here. In his current condition, he would most likely die if he went in. Qianfen had no choice but to take out the ash ruler again. There were many seals carved on the ruler, and they could only be removed through weapon forging. Now that Qianfen had become a spiritual weapon master, he began to attempt to refine the seals on the ash ruler. 7 days later, a loud noise suddenly came from the ash ruler, startling Qianfen out of his weapon forging. He immediately noticed the change in the ash ruler. The originally jet-black surface was suffused with a layer of faint purple light, like the afterglow of the sunset in the distant sky. Qianfen immediately grabbed the ash ruler in his hand. The originally incomparably heavy ash ruler actually became much lighter. He swung the ash ruler down, and a resplendent purple light appeared in the snowy ground. Rumble! A loud noise exploded, and a deep pit appeared in the snowy ground in front of Qianfen. He didn't use much strength in that attack, but the power it produced was beyond his expectations. What kind of weapon is this? It actually has such ferocious power. Qinfen was shocked by the ruler's power. He had only resolved the seal on the ruler's surface layer, but he could already easily wield the ferocious saber force. If the seal on the ruler was removed, who knew how heaven-defying this ruler's power would be? Just as he was fantasizing, two black figures descended from the sky. Qinfen finally knew how he entered the 4th level of the sword domain. It turned out that he had fallen from the sky. What is this place? Brother Hai Feng, be careful. This is most likely the 4th level of the sword domain. According to our previous challenges, the 4th level of the sword domain should be the embryonic form of this field. The two people who came and took a defensive stance as soon as they landed. Qinfen immediately recognized them. They were the eldest disciples sent by Hai Qi Ji, Hai Feng, and the ghost disciples sent by Yin Fei. One of them had stepped into the middle stage of the body condensation stage, and the other was in the late stage of the body condensation stage. Among the cultivators under 100 years old, they were already at the peak. However, Qinfen didn't care about them at all. He took the initiative to step on his flying sword and rush over. Be careful, someone is coming, the ghost disciple shouted. Hai Feng immediately looked towards the sky and his expression changed. It's you, kid. How can you be in the 4th level of the sword domain? And you came in before us? The participating cultivators didn't know about the others, so Hai Feng and the ghost disciple didn't know that Qinfen had already entered the 4th level of the sword domain and had stayed here for half a month. The two of them had teamed up to challenge the sword domain. Initially, they thought that they were the ones with the fastest challenge rate in the sword domain. At most, only Gels could surpass them. However, they never expected that a Nihility God Stage Level 3 human cultivator would already be in the 4th level of the sword domain. Is this the human cultivator sent by Xian Hai? The ghost disciple asked curiously. Hai Feng said uncertainly, it should be him. But why is this guy in front of us? The two of them couldn't figure it out no matter how hard they thought about it. In their opinion, Qinfen entering the 3rd level of the sword domain was already a miracle. However, the truth was right in front of them. You don't have to doubt me anymore. I've already stayed in the 4th level for half a month, but you too. Why did you only come in now? You're a bit slow to die. Qinfen's indifferent attitude made the two of them roll their eyes in anger. Hai Feng made a grabbing motion in the air, and a large saber appeared in his hand. He glared at Qinfen with a cold expression and shouted, I don't care how you entered the 4th layer of the sword domain. Your challenge ends here. With that, Hai Feng slashed down with his blade. Before entering the sword domain, Hai Qiji had told him that if he saw Qinfen, he was to kill him immediately. He didn't hold back at all. Instantly, a ferocious true energy whirlpool shot out. The snowflakes in the air were all sucked in, forming a blizzard whirlpool. It was as if a snow dragon was roaring. First, set a small goal. For example, remember in 1 second, Booksellers Mobile. Chapter 2008. With one slash, Hai Feng's body condensation state level 6 power was fully displayed. He was also a beast cultivator, so his primeval essence was stronger than human cultivators of the same level. A loud explosion shook the sky. A fierce blizzard rushed towards Qinfen. Hai Feng had a smug smile on his face, as if he could already see Qinfen's death. But in the next moment, Hai Feng's smile froze. Even the shock in his eyes seemed to freeze. His blizzard dragon seemed to be frozen in a world of ice and snow. Even the ferocious primeval essence, aura, stopped in the air. The rolling waves of air formed a strange scene that made people gasp in amazement. What is going on? Hai Feng didn't even have time to finish his sentence. He didn't even have the ability to speak. The ghost cultivator screamed, Not good. He's comprehended the edge of the field. Hai Feng's eyes were filled with shock. Although he was trapped by Qinfen's field and couldn't move or speak, his consciousness was still there. He couldn't accept the reality in front of him. Qinfen was just a hollow spirit state level 3 human ant. How could he comprehend the existence of the field? A cultivator of this level shouldn't even be able to touch the edge of the field. Brother High Foam, we don't need to be afraid of him. So what if he touched the edge of the field? With his cultivation, he can't kill us. As long as we comprehend the field quickly, we can kill him. The ghost cultivator was in a much better condition than High Foam. Although he couldn't move, he could still speak. But just as he finished speaking, numerous sword auras pierced through the clouds. A loud explosion sounded not far away from him. When he looked at High Foam again, he had already been blown to pieces. Even his primordial spirit had been destroyed. A chill rose from the ghost cultivator's back. His expression changed greatly. He didn't even have time to look back as he watched himself explode. 2 body condensation state cultivators died like ants. Even Sheen Foam was shocked by this scene. He once again sighed at how powerful the sword array in the sword domain was. At this moment, he realized that the sword domain wasn't formed naturally, but was set up by an ancient powerful being to comprehend the field. The sword array was obviously set up by that powerful being. From this, it could be seen how powerful that powerful being was. When High Foam and High Foam died, the cultivators gathered at the foot of the sword peak exploded again. Look, 2 more cultivators have entered the 4th level of the sword domain. I know those 2 seniors. One is High Foam, the eldest disciple of Hai Chi Ji, the great protector of Yao Chi Ji of 80 Mile City, and the other is En Chung, the disciple of great protector of ghost cultivator En Fei of 80 Mile City. These 2 seniors are both mighty figures of the body condensation state, so it's normal for them to enter the 4th layer of the sword domain. Why did the red dots representing the 2 seniors disappear? Holy shit, they really disappeared. Could it be that the 2 seniors have already fallen? Hai Chi Ji and En Fei's faces were as cold as ice. When their 2 disciples entered the 4th layer of the sword realm, they were all smiles, and they were planning to show off to Exine High. But before they could say anything, they realized that the red that representing their disciples had disappeared. What else could it be other than death? What's going on? Why did the red dots on High Foam and En Chung suddenly disappear? They just entered the 4th layer of the sword domain. Hai Chi Ji was about to go crazy, and his roar echoed throughout the foot of the sword peak. En Fei's body surged with coldness, and the cold howling wind made people's hearts palpitate. With En Chung and Hai Feng's cultivation, they wouldn't have died instantly in the 4th layer of the sword domain. They must have been killed by that Sheen ant. If I don't take revenge, I, En Fei, am not a human. He was clearly a ghost cultivator, but he said something like not a human. These words sounded funny, but no cultivator could laugh. Everyone was shocked by En Fei's speculation. Other than Hai Feng and En Chung, only Qin Fun was in the 4th layer of the sword domain. It seemed that En Fei's speculation was completely correct, but it was this reality that everyone found hard to accept. Half a month ago, Qin Fun killed Jest, who was cauldron-filling state, in the 4th layer of the sword domain. After that, he stayed in the 4th layer for half a month. When everyone thought that Qin Fun didn't dare to challenge the 5th layer of the sword domain and was preparing to leave, Hai Feng and En Chung died. At this moment, a bold speculation appeared in the hearts of the crowd. It wasn't that Qin Fun didn't dare to challenge the 5th sword domain, but he purposely waited in the 4th sword domain to kill some enemies. Young hero Qin is too terrifying. He completely killed body condensation state and cauldron-filling state experts like ants. Isn't that human cultivator only at Nihility God Realm Level 3? How'd he do it? I already said that Senior Qin hid his cultivation and ate a beauty pill. Even if he isn't over 100 years old, he is at least over 90. After this sword domain is over, Senior Qin's name will resound throughout the South Flat Continent. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Hai Chi Ji and En Fei gritted their teeth in anger. However, they couldn't explode. There were a few cauldron-filling state experts in the crowd, and they weren't the strongest among them. Moreover, En Chung and Hai Feng were killed by Qin Fun due to their inferior skills. This happened almost every moment in the South Flat Continent, so Hai Chi Ji and En Fei couldn't find a reason to explode. What the heck? Who is this brother Qin that I know? He's too valiant. Qi Longxing only recovered from the shock after a long time and danced excitedly. Li Shanshan's worried heart completely relaxed. Even cauldron-filling state and body condensation state experts were killed by Qin Fun. She believed that Qin Fun would be fine. Just as the crowd was discussing the death of Hai Feng and Yin Fei, another big event happened. Look, Senior Qin entered the 5th sword domain. He indeed purposely waited in the 4th sword domain to kill Hai Feng and Yin Cheng. This senior is too monstrous. No wonder Gray Island's #1 demon cultivator, Jezite, died in his hands. Compared to Senior Qin, Jezite is nothing. Once a person perished, it meant that his honor and dignity would vanish into thin air. Back then, when Jezite rushed to the sword domain's array door, he had shocked and awed all the cultivators at the foot of the mountain. But now that he died in the 4th sword domain, everyone dared to call him a dog. The cultivators outside the sword domain couldn't see what was happening inside, so they didn't know that Jezite and the others were actually killed by the sword array. Similarly, Qin Fun couldn't see what was happening outside, so he didn't know that he had caused such a huge commotion. After killing Hai Feng and Yin Fei, Qin Fun immediately entered the 5th sword domain. In fact, he had long been prepared to challenge the 5th sword domain, but his heart was still somewhat uneasy. But the uneasy feeling was still there, and Qin Fun couldn't wait any longer. He knew that he had to take this risk, otherwise, even if he stayed in the 4th sword domain for his entire life, he wouldn't be able to break through. Just as he entered the 5th sword domain, Qin Fun immediately felt a powerful and unfamiliar magnetic field. He didn't even have time to release his divine sense before his body was imprisoned in the void. The 5th sword domain was a dusky scene, just like when he first obtained the astral world. It was like the chaotic state of the universe at the beginning. Under this dusky sky, countless fields were formed, and the energy of these fields was enormous. It was no longer something that the world of ice and snow in the 4th sword domain could compare to. Swish! Just as his body was trapped, the sound of swords rang out from the dusky sky. Qin Fun's expression changed drastically, and he immediately realized that this was the most terrifying sword formation in the sword domain. He immediately activated his Zhen Yuan to protect his body, but before the Zhen Yuan shield enveloped his body, a loud sound exploded behind him, and he was sent flying dozens of meters into the open ground. Puff! Qin Fun landed on the ground and coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood. He immediately took out the perfumed consciousness pill and swallowed the whole bottle. Spiritual qi immediately surged up to his head, and his scattered divine sense quickly condensed, forming a field around him in an instant. Almost at the same time, several flying swords shot over, hitting the edge of the field, and the sound of sharp blades cutting through metal could be heard. Qin Fun immediately revealed a shocked expression. Those flying swords had actually cut through the field he had formed, and they were slowly approaching him. What is this place? It's even more terrifying than hell. Qin Fun was terrified. Even though he had already prepared himself mentally, he was still shocked by how terrifying the 5th sword domain was. There was no sign of life here, and the gray sky was filled with fields. It was difficult for Qin Fun to form his own field, let alone defend against the attack of the sword formation. While he was stunned, the flying swords in front of him were already less than 10 meters away, and it seemed like they would pierce through the field in a few breaths. Qin Fun no longer dared to relax. He immediately took out 5 flying swords and shot them out. These 5 flying swords were the spoils of war that he had obtained from killing other cultivators. Among them, the lowest grade was a pink flying sword. There was even a low-grade true artifact flying sword. However, the 5 flying swords shot into the space that had been pierced by the sword array and were instantly swallowed up and disappeared. Not even a trace of the swords could be seen. Even the powerful Jinshi aura brought by the flying swords disappeared. "Oh no, Master, that's a collapsed space," Little Pig exclaimed. Qin Fun immediately realized that the situation wasn't good. "What's a collapsed space?" Little Pig said quickly. "It's a space that has been extremely distorted. You can't survive in that kind of space. Once you enter, you'll be devoured until nothing is left. Even disaster transformation state cultivators will die instantly if they fall into a collapsed space. Qinfen gasped. He was only at hollow spirit state level 3, so if he fell into a collapsed space, he would definitely die. At this time, he was powerless and could only watch as the sword formation cut through his field, forming more and more collapsed space. He tried to use his divine sense to expand his field, but he couldn't do it at all. It was even difficult to repair the space that was cut by the sword formation. "Master, if you don't hide in the astral space, you're going to die," Little Pig shouted anxiously. Qinfen knew his current critical situation better than anyone else. However, if he really entered the astral world, he would probably be completely trapped inside. Unless he cultivated to the true form realm or even the true god realm before coming out, he would only die. Chapter 2009. However, breaking through to the true form realm was easier said than done. Even with the resources in the astral space, breaking through to the true form realm was another matter. Plus, Li Shanshan was still waiting at the foot of the sword peak. Qinfen knew that if he didn't go out, that girl would keep waiting there. While he was hesitating, the sword array closed in again. There was less than 5 meters of space left in Qinfen's field. The pitch-black collapsed space was right in front of him. It was filled with an intense aura of death. Fortunately, the collapsed space did not have the ability to suck people in. Otherwise, Qinfen would have been sucked in long ago. At the juncture of life and death, Qinfen could no longer care so much. He released all the moves he could use. Suddenly, the gray space rumbled and the sky was dyed dark blue by the spirit sunflower flame. All the attacks were drowned in the collapsed space like stones sinking to the bottom of the sea. Not even a shadow could be seen. The sword chi and saber gleam disappeared instantly. The spirit sunflower and the purple flame were extinguished in the darkness. The lightning sea bombardment of the 100-mile light sniper was completely ineffective. Even the spiritual sense attack did not respond. Seeing that he had used up all his trump cards, Qinfen felt hopeless. In this collapsed space, he had no way to deal with it. When the field was less than 1 meter wide, Qinfen only had the ruler left. He had forgotten about the ruler, but since he had found it in his storage ring, he casually swung his saber. A purple glow resembling the afterglow of the sunset. The saber gleam also disappeared into the darkness of the collapsed space. In the next second, Qinfen realized something was wrong. The expanding collapsed space suddenly stopped and did not continue spreading toward him. Qinfen was in disbelief. He subconsciously swung his saber a second time. This time, he used all the quintessential essence in his body. The purple saber gleam instantly spread around, and the collapsed space was filled up a little more. What kind of weapon is this? It has the ability to fill up collapsed space? Qinfen stared at the ruler in his hand in disbelief. Little Pig, who had not expected this, immediately said, "Master, the magnetic field of the ruler is different from ordinary weapons. It seems that its magnetic field changed the field of the collapsed space, causing the collapsed space to disappear." Qinfen didn't know if Little Pig's explanation was correct or not, but he didn't have time to think about it. When he realized that the ruler could split open space, Qinfen immediately swung his blade a few times. The resplendent purple light filled the sky, forming a beautiful scene of sunset. It really works. This is too miraculous. Qinfen was extremely shocked as he watched the collapsed space around him disappear. He quickly woke up and immediately urged his divine sense to expand the area. He didn't know if it was because of the ruler, but the area that couldn't be expanded before was now slowly expanding. After an hour, Qinfen's field had expanded to a radius of 100 meters. This allowed him to heave a sigh of relief. Even though there were still sword formations flying towards him from the gray sky, he could already use the ruler to cut the collapsed space formed by the sword formations. Saving his life was not a problem. Qinfen began to rejoice that he had refined a few bottles of fragrant sense pills in the 4th level of the sword domain. If it wasn't for the help of those fragrant sense pills, his divine sense would have dried up long ago. Even if he used the ruler to cut open the collapsed space, he would definitely be trapped in the gray field and wait for death. Now, Qinfen was repeating the same thing. He constantly urged his divine sense to stabilize his field. If he didn't do this, his field would be swallowed by the gray field in the 5th level of the sword domain, even if there were no sword formations attacking. This process was complicated and consumed a lot of divine sense, but the benefits were obvious. Qinfen gradually realized that his ability to release and control the field had improved a lot. This was probably the rhythm of a small success, and these changes were improved by constantly fighting against the gray field. 3 days later, Qinfen had completely adapted to the environment of the 5th sword domain. Now, the speed at which he expanded his field was faster than the speed at which the gray field swallowed it. His field had already expanded to a radius of several thousand meters, and the sword formation's attacks could no longer threaten him. When those flying swords entered his field, they would be trapped in the void, unable to move forward. During these 3 days of training, Qinfen suddenly had a new understanding. He realized that the field and field in the sword domain were born together with the sword formations. These sword formations were completely integrated into the field and could be considered a part of the field and field. When this idea emerged, Qinfen immediately thought of integrating the ruler's blade qi into his field and field. Because the ruler was extremely powerful, it could even cut open the collapsed space. If it was integrated into the field and field, its power would be endless. After having this idea, Qinfen began to try to integrate it. He was now a level 6 formation grandmaster, so setting up a sword formation was a piece of cake. However, although it was easy to form a sword formation, it was very difficult to integrate it into the field and field. Qinfen tried dozens of methods, but they all ended in failure. "Master, it's not that your method is wrong. It's that you can't do it with your current ability," Little Pig said. Puzzled, Qinfen asked, "Why can't I do it with my ability?" "Master, according to your situation in the sword domain challenge, the sword domain is divided into 3 levels. The first 3 levels are for understanding and strengthening the field, the middle 3 levels are for understanding and strengthening the field, and the last 3 levels should be for the existence of the domain. And the sword domain is called the sword domain because it combines the sword formation and the domain into one. Master, I'm afraid that only those who have comprehended the domain can have the ability to integrate the sword formation or the blade formation." Little Pig's explanation made Qinfen suddenly understand. He suddenly stopped his movements. Just as Little Pig said, it wasn't that his method was wrong. It was that before comprehending the domain, it was impossible to integrate the sword formation or the blade formation into the field and field. Qinfen instantly became very interested in the domain. He wanted nothing more than to immediately comprehend the existence of the domain. However, he knew this was impossible. With his current level of cultivation, it was already unimaginable that he could comprehend the small success of the field. Just as he understood the true meaning of the sword domain, that old and familiar voice rang in his ears, asking him if he wanted to continue to the 6th level of the sword domain or if he wanted to withdraw from the challenge. Qinfen already didn't plan to go to the 6th level of the sword domain. Right now, it was a little difficult for him to stay in the 5th level of the sword domain. The field couldn't exist forever. It was constantly being swallowed by the 5th level of the sword domain. He knew that if he entered the 6th level of the sword domain now, he would definitely fall into a predicament of death again. A few days ago, he had coincidentally used the ruler to resolve the crisis. Who knew if he would be so lucky the next time he encountered danger? There was another reason that made Qinfen give up on the idea of challenging the 6th level of the sword domain. He came to the sword domain for 2 main reasons. One was to help Xian Hai participate in the competition. Now that he had entered the 5th level of the sword domain, he could definitely take first place in the 80-mile city. As for the other reason, he wanted to find Aku's treasure. That treasure was in the 5th level of the sword domain, so there was no need for Qinfen to go to the 6th level of the sword domain. P.S. You're about to fall out of the top 10 of the monthly ticket rankings. Now is the time for double monthly tickets. One monthly ticket counts as two. Supreme readers, come and support me. Chapter 2010. Qianfen calculated the time. It had been almost a month since he entered the Sword Realm. He had to hurry and find Aku's treasure. Otherwise, after a month, the Sword Realm would close and teleport him out. The 5th level of the Sword Realm was huge. It was a completely gray world. This world reminded Qianfen of his astral world. Back then, the astral world was also gray and lifeless. But now he had changed it into green mountains and clear waters, a holy land of spiritual energy. After flying for a day and a night, Qianfen finally found the location marked on the treasure map. It was a towering mountain peak that looked exactly like the Sword Mountain. This is the real Sword Mountain. When he saw the towering mountain range in front of him, Qianfen felt incomparably small. This feeling was very strange. It was as if the Sword Mountain was a god that made people feel fear. The treasure was at the top of the Sword Mountain. When Qianfen rushed to the waist of the mountain on his flying sword, he immediately felt a strong pressure. The closer he got to the top, the stronger the pressure became. This was a battle without smoke or physical objects, but it made Qianfen feel hopeless and powerless. He couldn't even see the shadow of his enemy. He didn't even have a way to resist. When he reached a certain distance from the middle of the mountain, the strong pressure had already started to tear apart Qianfeng's spirit armor, and even the true Yuan shield around his body was instantly broken. His body was violently smashed, and every time he collided, it was as though he was struck by the powerful true Yuan of a body condensation stage expert. Qianfen couldn't resist the strong pressure anymore. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. As he spat out blood, the true Yuan hanging in his body disappeared. He finally flew to the waist of the mountain and landed at the foot of the mountain. The pressure on his body was gone. It was as if it never existed. Qianfen sat at the foot of the mountain and looked up at the towering peak. His heart was filled with despair. "Master, there should be a defensive formation at the top of the mountain." Little Pig reminded. Qianfen had already realized this problem. He also knew that the defensive formation at the top of the Sword Mountain was very high level. It was at least a rank 6 Grandmaster formation. Even if the formation had existed for a long time, the eye of the formation was still unbreakable. With Qianfen's current cultivation and formation skills, there was no way for him to break through the peak's defensive formation, and it was even more impossible for him to force his way up the mountain. For a moment, he was in a deadlock. After resting at the foot of the mountain for a while, Qianfen once again thought of a countermeasure. He found that because he was charging toward the top of the mountain, the area around him had shrunk a lot. Now, he could barely cover the area around the sword peak. Under the gray sky, the sword formations kept attacking, causing the space he had created to collapse. Now, these collapsed spaces were no longer a threat to Qianfen. However, when Qianfen saw the collapsed space enveloping the top of the sword peak, his eyes instantly lit up. Qianfen already had a countermeasure. He immediately expanded the area and surrounded the top of the sword peak. The sword formation here seemed to have its own intelligence. It launched a fierce attack on the strong field domain. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, a rain of swords formed in the air above the sword peak and fell fiercely on the sword peak. Rumble! That part of the sky immediately formed a large-scale spatial collapse. Wherever it went, it was like a hurricane vortex, bringing with it the energy to devour everything as it rapidly fell. When the spatial collapse covered the entire top of the sword peak, even the sword peak was quickly devoured. Such a spectacular and ferocious scene shocked Qianfen. However, he quickly recovered and immediately took out the ruler and rushed to the top of the mountain. He waved the ruler, bringing with it a gorgeous purple light, like the afterglow of the sunset, which was pleasing to the eye. However, there was a mysterious and terrifying power hidden in this bright saber light. Even the collapsed space immediately disappeared under the impact of the purple light. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Qianfen rushed to the top of the sword peak. This time, When he went up the mountain, there was no strong, oppressive aura. As for the spatial collapse at the top of the mountain, it had been cut by the ruler, and the aura of the formation at the top of the mountain had disappeared. Qianfen guessed that it had been swallowed by the spatial collapse. The top of the sword peak was no longer the top of the mountain. The real top had been swallowed by the spatial collapse. However, Qianfen was immediately surprised. He had found Aku's treasure. The treasure was under his feet. It was only half a meter away from being swallowed by the spatial collapse. Qianfen felt very lucky. All this effort was worth it. If he had lost the treasure that Aku was looking for, he wouldn't have known how to explain it to Aku. He looked around and confirmed that there were no other dangers at the top of the mountain. Then he jumped and slashed down. The purple light was dazzling. Instantly, a crack appeared at the top of the mountain. From the crack, a golden light shot out, and a secret book floated in the air. 9 pulse magic sword, 10,000 swords become one, sword formation domain, outer space flying sky. This was a sword skill secret book. There were 4 chapters in total, from 9 pulse magic sword to outer space flying sky. When he saw the sword skill, Qianfen was shocked. Of course, he knew about 9 pulse magic sword. Wasn't this the top sword skill that the founder of God's Finger, Shun Zhuqing, had comprehended? He had never thought that it would be hidden in the sword peak. Qianfen immediately had many questions in his mind. If this 9 pulse magic sword was really created by Shun Zhuqing, then how did Aku know about this secret book? What was her relationship with Shun Zhuqing? And when Qianfen destroyed the 5-star sect God's Finger, the sect leader God's Finger told Qianfen about the story between Shun Zhuqing and his good friend before he died. In the end, he even said that there was a 9 pulse magic sword secret book in Spectre City, one of the 8 great danger zones of the South Flat Continent. Was this the 9 pulse magic sword that Shun Zhuqing had created? Many questions surged in his mind, and Qianfen couldn't figure them out at the moment. After he came to his senses, he immediately put the floating sword skills secret book into his storage ring. He planned to find Aku and ask her in detail later. However, as soon as the sword skill was put away, the ground under Qianfen's feet shook violently. The towering sword peak began to collapse. A moment later, it completely collapsed and fell to the ground at the same time. There was a commotion at the foot of the sword peak outside the sword domain. The red that everyone was paying attention to had disappeared. Huh, Senior Qin's red that has disappeared. Did he die as well? That's not right. Senior Qin has stayed in the 5th level of the sword domain for several days. He should have died long ago. Why did he suddenly die at this time? I thought he would step into the 6th level of the sword domain in a few days. Haha, that damned human ant. It's good that he's dead. Knowing that Qianfen was dead, Hai Qiji and Yin Fei were extremely excited. The anger that they had been suppressing for a long time had finally subsided. They even winked at Xian Hai and the others. Qi Longxing couldn't help but swing his saber at Hai Qiji. However, with his cultivation, how could he be a match for Hai Qiji? Instead, he was sent flying to the ground by Hai Qiji's palm. Umph, you little demon cultivator. If not for your identity as the son of the Black Snake King, I would have killed you with a palm long ago. You better not take advantage of me. Otherwise, even if I kill you here today, the Black Snake King will have no reason to find trouble with me. Hai Qiji scolded. Xian Hai's expression was extremely cold. He had wanted to fight it out with Hai Qiji, but he was more worried about Qianfen's safety. Even he couldn't understand why Qianfen would die in the 5th level of the sword domain. Earthquake! Earthquake! Someone suddenly cried out. This isn't an earthquake. The sword peak has collapsed. Fuck. The sword peak really collapsed. How is that possible? The sword peak has existed for thousands of years. How could it collapse just like that? What about those cultivators who challenged the sword domain? Don't tell me they're all dead. The towering sword peak suddenly collapsed. This sudden change stunned everyone present. Even Hai Qiji and Yin Fei temporarily forgot about their anger. They looked at the half-collapsed sword peak in disbelief. This was simply a fantasy story. The sword domain really collapsed. I have a bad feeling. Everyone, hurry up and run. A cauldron-filling state expert leaped and flew away. He didn't even care about the disciples of his sect who were still challenging the sword domain. The cauldron-filling state experts fled in panic. Many cultivators immediately followed. Xian flew above the collapsed sword domain. A violent burst of true yuan surged from his body and enveloped the entire sword domain. Everyone, don't worry. Although I don't know why the sword domain suddenly collapsed, it's just a simple collapse of a mountain. Xian's voice sounded out. The fleeing crowd calmed down again. Many people returned to the foot of the sword peak. At this time, Xian used his true yuan to trap the sword peak. The destructive force of the sword peak's collapse was blocked. It couldn't hurt other cultivators. Seeing this, Li Tian also flew up to the sky above the sword peak to help Xian stop the mountain from collapsing. Hai Qiji and Yin Fei didn't care about these things. Their gazes fell on Qi Longxing and Li Shanshan. The crowd was in chaos. It was the best time to kill them. What do you two old farts want to do? Sister-in-law, run. Qi Longxing felt the murderous aura from the two and quickly stood in front of Li Shanshan. Seeing that the sword peak had collapsed and Qinfen didn't come out, Li Shanshan couldn't leave. Even if Qinfen came out, she couldn't leave Qi Longxing alone. This time, Hai Qiji's killing intent had been aroused. Without another word, he sent a palm strike into the air. A ferocious Zhen Yuan palm imprint shot out, sending Qi Longxing flying several hundred meters into the empty ground. He lay there unmoving, his fate unknown. Li Shanshan screamed in fear. The other true Yuan palm was already closing in on her. With a loud explosion, a huge pit appeared on the ground. However, Li Shanshan was nowhere to be seen. Who dares to interfere in my business? You don't know what's good for you. Qi Longxing roared to the sky. Li Shanshan had been saved by someone. A streak of light flew in the sky. When the flying sword stopped in the air, Qinfen's cold and resolute face appeared. Hai Qiji was stunned. You're not dead? How is this possible? Hai Qiji asked. He was so shocked that he forgot to attack. At this time, the sword peak had completely collapsed. The originally towering mountain had become a pile of rubble. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Chapter 2011. Young hero Qin, you're still alive? Xian was surprised and immediately flew over. The sword peak had completely collapsed, so there was no need to guard it anymore. Li Tian also landed beside Qinfeng. Of course I'm alive. Otherwise, who would kill you two scourges? Qinfeng saw the heavily injured Qi Longxing on the ground and was enraged. Hai Qiji's face paled. His eldest disciple, Hai Feng, was killed by Qinfeng in the sword realm. He wanted to kill Qinfeng's wife and brother to vent his anger, but Qinfeng came back. Hai Qiji wasn't afraid of Qinfeng. He knew that if Qinfeng came back alive, Xian would stand on his side. If Xian showed up, Li Tian would most likely help. In front of Xian and Li Tian, Hai Qiji and Yin Fei couldn't gain any advantage. They realized that they couldn't kill Qi Longxing and Li Shanshan. Humph, you're lucky. Let's wait and see. Hai Qiji prepared to leave. But just as he turned around, Qinfeng said, You can leave if you want. Do you think I'm not here? Everyone was flabbergasted and looked at Qinfeng in confusion. The crowd at the foot of the sword peak hadn't dispersed yet. Seeing that a great battle was about to happen, their eyes shone with excitement. You human ant, don't be so shameless. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Hai Qiji's Zhen Yuan surged, and he turned into an angry lion. Just a burst of qi made it hard for the cultivators at the foot of the mountain to breathe. It was clear how terrifying the anger of a cauldron-filling state expert was. Even Li Tian and Yin Fei looked worried. If Hai Qiji was determined to kill Qinfeng, they might not even have a chance to resist. Qinfeng's expression didn't change at all. He suddenly said, Senior Xian, do you want to kill those two guys? Xian was stunned. He looked at Qinfeng in confusion. What do you mean? If you want to kill them, I can help you, Qinfeng said. The crowd was dumbfounded. They couldn't understand Qinfeng's thoughts. Although he killed Jezite in the sword realm, That genius beast cultivator had only just stepped in a cauldron-filling state. Hai Chi-ji, on the other hand, was a famous cauldron-filling state senior. Rumor had it that he was already in cauldron-filling state intermediate stage. Facing such an almighty, Qin Fan acted as if he wanted to kill him. If it wasn't for his shocking performance in the sword domain, he would definitely be laughed at by the crowd. However, no one dared to laugh at him. In fact, many cultivators were looking forward to finally witnessing the death of a cauldron-filling state cultivator. After a long while, Xan Hai came back to his senses, but instead of answering Qin Fan, he said firmly to Hai Chi-ji, "Qin Fan is my disciple. If you dare to touch even a hair on his head, I will avenge my disciple, even if it costs me my life." His attitude was extremely firm. This was a show of force to Hai Chi-ji. Li Tian then stood up and said, "Although young Hero Qin killed Hai Feng and Yin Cheng in the sword realm, it was because they were not as skilled as you. This kind of thing often happens in the sword realm. Young Hero Qin can't be blamed." Hai Chi-ji's face was so cold that it was about to freeze. The scene he didn't want to see the most had happened. "Protector Hai, we have a lot of time. It doesn't matter," Yin Fei suddenly said. He was planning to leave this place first. Hai Chi-ji glared at Qin Fan and was about to leave again. However, a strange aura surged from Qin Fan's body. That aura instantly covered thousands of meters. Hai Chi-ji's body seemed to become slow motion like in a movie. It was just a simple turn, but it actually lasted for a few seconds. The cultivators standing outside didn't know what was going on. Most of them hadn't even touched the border of the sword realm. They didn't know about the existence of the dojo. Hai Chi-ji's scream came from the battlefield. "Field? You actually comprehended field?" Yin Fei's voice came at the same time. "And it's a small success. How is that possible?" Even Xan Hai and Li Tian were shocked. When Qin Fan stepped into the 5th level of the sword realm and survived for a few days, they guessed that Qin Fan had already comprehended the border of field. However, when Qin Fan used field in front of them so easily, they still couldn't accept it. Peerless genius. Young Hero Qin is really a peerless genius. Xan Hai exclaimed. A month ago, he tested Qin Fan's strength at the Autumn Leaf Pavilion. He was only at empty God Realm level 3 and had comprehended to the major success of the Sword Realm. However, in a short month, Qin Fan had actually comprehended the small success of field. Senior Xan Hai, now is not the time to talk about this. Kill those 2 pieces of trash. Xan Hai suddenly came to his senses. Only now did he realize that Qin Fan was serious. He really wanted to kill Hai Chi-ji and Yin Fei, who were at the intermediate stage of the cauldron-filling realm. Xan Hai's emotions changed quickly, and he had already calmed down. He immediately threw out a palm strike towards the stage, and a huge genuine palm print covered the entire space. Wherever it went, loud booms rang out. Just the wave of earth-shattering aura shocked the crowd. "I'll help too," Li Tian roared. A red aura surged out from under his black robe, and a red demonic mark appeared on his forehead. The mark seemed to be floating on his forehead, and it even condensed into a crystal form. The 2's attacks landed at the same time. Instantly, a spectacular mushroom cloud appeared in the void. Hai Chi-ji and Yin Fei's expressions changed drastically. They immediately used their spirit sense to form their own field. However, before the field appeared, a loud explosion occurred on their bodies, and a blood mist filled the sky. "Aya, what a reckless human ant. Even if I die today, I'll drag you down with me." Hai Chi-ji's roar came from the blood mist explosion. His clothes had long been destroyed, and the true artifact armor on his body was shattered. He no longer had the cold and arrogant demeanor of an expert. Hai Chi-ji ignored his injuries and focused on attacking Qin Fan. When he struck out with his palm, a huge Jun Yuan handprint descended from the sky. It was as if a black cloud was pressing down on Qin Fan with a shocking aura. Even Qin Fan's field was suppressed. He immediately realized that the strength of the field was not only related to the spirit sense, but also the true essence realm. When the cloud palm descended, Qin Fan could not even move. He immediately took out his ruler and slashed towards the sky. The purple light actually pierced through the palm and shot out. Rumble. A loud explosion sounded. Before everyone's eyes, a beautiful purple light shot into the sky like the sunset and sliced the true essence palm in half. However, the two halves of the palm still fell and blasted Qin Fun away. Rumble. A new loud explosion sounded. The moment Hai Qiji launched his attack at Qin Fun, Xian Hai's attack also landed on him. Under the impact of the series of Zhen Yuan hand seals, Hai Qiji was sent flying backward like a kite with a broken string. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and he finally fell into a deep pit and lay there motionless. On the other side, Li Tian also launched a fierce attack. In the end, he completely dispersed the black mist in Yin Fei's body. The skies seemed to be dyed with ink, and not even a speck of light could be seen. The huge battle came to a temporary halt, but the aftermath of the violent explosion was still ongoing. The spectating cultivators retreated again and again. At this time, they were all gathered in an open space thousands of meters away. This is a battle between cauldron-filling state mighty figures? It feels so surreal. When will we reach their level? When they raise their hands, the sky darkens, and when their palms fall, the mountains collapse. Senior Qin is indeed a cauldron-filling state cultivator. He can actually trap Hai Qiji and Yin Fei, two mighty figures. What's the situation now? Did any mighty figure die? The battlefield was covered in smoke and black mist, and it was impossible to see clearly. Xian Hai suddenly slashed the void twice. Something seemed to explode, and Hai Qiji and Yin Fei's screams could be heard. There were still powerful cultivators in the crowd who immediately exclaimed, "That's the sound of essence spirits." Hai Qiji and Yin Fei's essence spirits have been destroyed. They're completely dead. Whoosh! The crowd was instantly in an uproar. There were not many cauldron-filling state mighty figures in the entire South Flat Continent. Usually, it was considered lucky to see one, and it could even be used as something to brag about. Now, these people not only saw cauldron-filling state mighty figures, but also saw two mighty figures die. It was truly unbelievable. Young hero Qin, are you okay? After killing the two, Xian Hai did not even look at them. He immediately flew to Qin Fun's side. Just now, Hai Qiji's palm had surged with true essence, shaking Qin Fun's organs. He had already swallowed several qi consolidation pills and was finally slightly better. Don't worry about me. How is Brother Qi? Qi Longxing's life is not in danger, but he is heavily injured. He needs some pills to recover. Li Tian's voice came from the other side. Qin Fan instantly heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Qi Longxing wasn't dead, everything was fine. As for pills, he was not afraid of not being able to heal Brother Qi. Li Shanshan ran over and jumped into Qin Fun's arms. The two of them cuddled for a while, and Li Shanshan's emotions gradually calmed down. When she realized that everyone was staring at her, she immediately stood to the side shyly. Young hero Qin, you comprehended the initial success of Field? Xian Hai was still in disbelief. Qin Fan smiled and said, Senior Xian Hai, the sword domain is a place specially used to train one's realm and field. I only comprehended the existence of Field after entering, and then stabilized it to initial success. Xian Hai and Li Tian looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with shock. They only touched the boundary of Field when they stepped into body condensation realm, and only reached initial success at Cauldron Filling State Intermediate. The two of them were very clear about Qin Fun's cultivation. He displayed Nihility God Realm Level 3 without any hidden suppression. With young hero Qin's talent, you will definitely become one of the South Flat Continent's celestial supremes in a few decades. Li Tian couldn't help but sigh. Xian Hai nodded in agreement and said to Qin Fun, Young hero Qin, where are you planning to go? I will send you there. Qin Fun understood Xian Hai's intentions. Now that he had killed Hai Qiji and Yin Fei, and even killed Jezite in the sword domain, he believed that these three factions would definitely come after him for revenge. Xian Hai wanted to help him escape this crisis. If Qin Fun was alone, he definitely wouldn't be afraid of those factions. But now that Li Shanshan was with him, he had to be careful. Then I will follow Senior Xian Hai back to 80 Mile City. Xian Hai knew that Qinfen was going back to 80 Mile City to pick up his father and grandfather, so he left with Li Shanshan and Qi Longxing. Now that Hai Qiji and Yin Fei were dead, 80 Mile City was no longer a threat. Not long later, that place would become Xian Hai and Li Tian's territory. Chapter 2012. No one spoke along the way. After returning to 80 Mile City, Xin Hai called Qinfen away while Li Shanshan went to meet up with Emperor Qin and Emperor Qin in the autumn leaf pavilion that reached the clouds. Young Master Qin, why did the Sword Peak collapse? Xin Hai did not ask this question. Senior Xin Hai, I'm not sure either. It should have something to do with this sword skill. Qinfen took out the sword skill manual that Aku was looking for. The manual opened up in the void, and the words inside were displayed. 9 Pulse Legendary Sword. 10,000 swords become one. Sword Formation Realm. Outer Realm Flying Sky. Xin Hai was shocked and said, "Is this the top sword skill that the founder of God's Finger, Senior Immortal Zhu Qing, comprehended?" Qinfen did not expect Immortal Zhu Qing to be so famous that even Xin Hai had heard of him. Since he was willing to take out the 9 Pulse Legendary Sword, there was no need to hide it. It should be the 9 Pulse Legendary Sword created by Senior Immortal Zhu Qing, but I heard that the manual is hidden in Ghost City. There is no sword skill in Ghost City, but an immortal weapon. Xin Hai said seriously. Qinfen first heard from Yuan Xiu and the others that it was an immortal weapon, but God's Finger told him that there was a 9 Pulse Legendary Sword in Ghost City. That was why he was confused. But the current sect master of God's Finger told me that the 9 Pulse Legendary Sword is hidden in Ghost City. That guy might be lying to you, or maybe even he doesn't know the truth. Shun Zhu Qing was an ultimate god thousands of years ago. Even I can't tell if some of the rumors that have been passed down are true or false. Xin Hai continued, but I've been to Ghost City once. It's a terrifying place. Even a cauldron-filling realm expert can be killed easily. I was lucky enough to see the immortal weapon, but I couldn't take it away. Qinfen was shocked and said, Senior Xin Hai has been to Ghost City? What is that immortal weapon? A sword hidden at the peak of a mountain. The mountain is very similar to the Sword Peak. Now that you've found Senior Immortal Zhu Qing's 9 Pulse Legendary Sword in the Sword Peak, it seems that the immortal weapon in Ghost City is also left by Senior Immortal Zhu Qing. Qinfen came to a sudden realization. No wonder God's Finger said that there was a 9 Pulse Godly Sword in Ghost City. He wasn't lying. He even didn't know what was hidden in Ghost City. He must have heard that his Grandmaster's belongings were hidden in the Spirit City, so he thought that it was the 9 Pulse Legendary Sword Technique Manual. Who would have thought that Shun Zhu Qing not only had a peerless sword technique manual, but also a peerless sword? After a short conversation, Qinfen and Xian Hai both believed that the collapse of the Sword Peak had something to do with the 9 Pulse Godly Sword Manual. When Qinfen took the manual away, the Sword Peak ceased to exist. Seeing that Xian Hai was very interested in the 9 Pulse Godly Sword secret manual, Qinfen gave him a copy. However, this secret manual belonged to Aku, so Qinfen decided to explain it to Aku later. 3 days later, Aku arrived at the city of 80 kilometers. When Xian Hai saw her, he was very respectful. Young hero Qin, did you find a treasure? Aku's eyes were filled with anticipation when she saw Qinfen. Qinfen took out the 9 Pulse Godly Sword secret manual and said, Senior Aku is looking for this secret manual, right? Seeing the secret manual floating in the air, Aku was very happy. She grabbed it and put it in her storage ring. When she came back to her senses, she immediately felt a little embarrassed. She looked at Qinfen and smiled. Thank you for your help this time, young hero Qin. I'm looking for this 9 Pulse Godly Sword secret manual. I'll take it with me, but I can make a copy for you. Qinfen smiled. To be honest, Senior Aku, I already made a copy. I hope you don't mind. 9 Pulse Godly Sword is a high-grade heaven-ranked sword technique. Anyone who sees it will be tempted. I'm already very grateful that you didn't take the secret manual for yourself. It's only right that you make a copy to study it. Akka wasn't angry. Xian Hai, who had been standing at the side, suddenly said, Senior Akko, you're already over 1,000 years old, right? Qin Feng was shocked. Akka looked like she was in her early 30s. He didn't expect her actual age to be so terrifying. Young hero Qin, this is? Akka was a little wary of Xian Hai. Qin Feng hurriedly introduced, Senior, there's no need to worry. This is Senior Xian Hai, the great protector of the 80-mile city. It's all thanks to Senior Xian Hai's help that I was able to get the secret manual from the Sword Peak and come back alive. Akka let out a sigh of relief and then answered Xian Hai's question. You guessed right. I'm very old. I've even forgotten my exact age. Qin Feng couldn't accept it. He never thought that the beautiful young married woman standing in front of him would be over 1,000 years old. What should he call her by her seniority? However, after a short moment of shock, Qin Feng sank into an even deeper shock. He thought about the treasure that Ko was looking for and the story that God's finger told him. He couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. Senior Ko, you know God's finger? Qin Feng suddenly asked. Aka's body trembled. Her eyes were filled with reminiscence. After a long time, she said, That's right. I know God's finger. He's my husband. Qin Feng and Xian Hai were stunned on the spot. Akka continued, Thousands of years ago, two Sword Dao geniuses appeared in the South Plateau state. The two of them had known each other since they were young and discussed the Sword Dao together. They were good friends who talked about everything and created the Finger of God's sect together. The older cultivator's Sword Dao was more powerful. His comprehension was also better than the younger cultivator's. His reputation was always higher than the younger cultivator's. Gradually, hatred accumulated in the younger cultivator's heart. He even had the thought of killing the senior brother. Later on, the junior brother met a beautiful woman and fell in love with her. He sent his woman to seduce the senior brother, planning to put on a big show. Later on, the woman successfully won the senior brother's love. On the night of their wedding, the junior brother found the senior brother late at night and told him about his feelings for the woman. The senior brother immediately decided to give up on the woman. He treasured the brotherly bond between him and the junior brother more. The junior brother was very touched. He offered to give up on his own accord and let the senior brother and sister-in-law marry each other. However, he had a condition. He hoped that the senior brother would teach him the super powerful sword skill that he created. He planned to use the sword skill to make a name for himself. Hearing this, Qin Feng and Xian Hai understood. The senior brother was Shun Zhu Qing, and the beautiful woman was most likely Akko. Akko continued. The senior brother agreed and gave the super powerful sword skill that he created in his lifetime to the junior brother without reservation. He thought that would be a happy ending for both parties, but something happened on the night of the wedding. Qin Feng had heard this story from God's finger. He knew what happened next. It was Xian Hai's first time hearing it, and he was already attracted by the story. What happened? Akko sighed and said, That night, the senior brother returned to his room after drinking with the guests and found that his partner was missing. He immediately sent people to search for his partner. They searched all over the city, but they couldn't find his partner. Later on, he found out that the junior brother was also missing. The two most important people in his life disappeared at the same time. The senior brother was heartbroken. He stopped cultivating and started to search for the two, rain or shine. What he didn't know was that this marriage was a plot by junior brother from the beginning. That night, when junior brother obtained the sword skill, he left with the woman. The woman thought that she would be able to live a happy life with junior brother. But who would have thought that junior brother would despise the woman for having an ambiguous relationship with senior brother? Junior brother had instructed the woman to do all this. After that, the junior brother destroyed the woman's cultivation and left her to fend for herself. The woman woke up from a dream and regretted it for the rest of her life. She started to miss the days with the senior brother, but she was too ashamed to return to the senior brother. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of years passed. The junior brother mastered the sword skill and took the initiative to show up. At that time, the senior brother was so happy that he cried. Unexpectedly, the junior brother challenged him to a battle of life and death. The battle was earth-shattering. The junior brother helplessly realized that even though he had been practicing the sword skill day and night for the past hundreds of years, he was still no match for the senior brother who was wandering around looking for him. At the moment of life and death, the junior brother revealed the secret from hundreds of years ago. The senior brother went berserk and died in the battle in Spirit Fog City. At this point, Aku's face was covered in tears. You should have guessed that the senior brother who was respected was the founder of God's Finger, Shun Juqing. The junior brother was called Shun Qijuan, and the woman was me. Boom. Even though Qin Fan had guessed that this was the relationship between the characters, when he heard it from Aku's own mouth, he felt as if his head was about to explode. If Aku was Shun Juqing's woman, then she had lived for thousands of years. However, this woman's cultivation was destroyed. Qin Fan had no idea how she had survived. As if reading Qin Fan's mind, Aku suddenly said, "Because of hatred. I have lived until now because of hatred. I don't know how many times I have been through life and death, but I have survived in the end. Because I haven't avenged my great hatred, I can't die in peace." You haven't avenged your great hatred? Qin Fan's eyes widened. Senior, you mean Shin Qijuan is not dead? Aku nodded. He is not dead. He is living very well. I must avenge the senior brother. I must make that beast die a horrible death. At the mention of Shun Qijuan, Aku's expression was ferocious. It was as if she had changed into a different person. Qin Fan and Xian Hai looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. If Shun Qijuan was still alive, what realm was he at now? By the way, Senior Aku, you said that Senior Shun Juqing died in Spirit Fog City, which is now Spirit City. Qin Fan suddenly thought of another question. That's right. When Senior Brother died, he sealed his celestial sword in Spirit City. The celestial weapon in Spirit City is real. It is Senior Brother's celestial sword. So there really is a celestial weapon in the divine continent. Qin Fan exclaimed. Then who sealed the 9-pulse godly sword in the sword peak? Senior Brother also sealed that secret scroll. Thousands of years ago, Green Island was Senior Brother's territory. God's one finger was there. Senior Brother created his own sword realm to cultivate and understand the way of the sword. After he died, the sword realm was discovered and became a place to challenge and break through. I was afraid that someone would accidentally find the secret scroll of the 9-pulse godly sword. So I asked young hero Qin to help me retrieve the secret scroll. Everything was clear, but Qin Fan could not calm down. Any cultivator with a conscience would be moved by Shun Juqing's pitiful story. However, according to Aku, Shun Qijuan's strength was unknown. With Qin Fan's current cultivation, he could not help Aku take revenge. Chapter 2013. Senior Aku, I'm afraid Shin Qijuan isn't on the Divine Supreme Continent anymore, right? Xin Hai suddenly asked. Qin Fan looked at him in confusion. Where else could he be if not on the Divine Supreme Continent? Was there really a higher realm above the Divine Supreme Continent? No matter where he is, I will find a way to get revenge. Aku's expression was determined. Though her Dantian was destroyed and she couldn't even defeat a low-level cultivator who just stepped into immortal chi, the aura that shot out from her bones made even Xin Hai, a cauldron-filling state, palpitate. At this moment, Autumn Leaf's voice came. Protector Xin Hai, someone is causing trouble at the city gate. Who dares to cause trouble in the city? Xin Hai's expression turned cold. The guard said, It's a beast cultivator from Green Island. Qin Fan frowned. He spread out his divine sense and saw a group of beast cultivators gathered outside the city gate. From their clothes, they should be from Nanming Palace. I didn't think Nanming Palace would chase us all the way here. I've caused trouble for you, Senior Xin Hai, Qin Fan said. Xian Hai patted him on the shoulder. Young hero Qin, there's no need to be so formal. From the moment I brought you back, I already knew that Nanming Palace's forces would come after us. It seems that young hero Qin has completely angered Nanming Palace this time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stepped into the territory of human cultivators. 80 Mile City was the closest city to Green Island. This area was special. It was human cultivators' territory, but beast cultivators often appeared. However, the demon cultivators who came and went from the 80-kilometer city were very low-key. They would not easily stir up trouble. It was almost impossible for the Nanming Temple to cause trouble with such great fanfare. Not good. White Dragon King is here too. Xinhai's expression suddenly turned serious. Qin was shocked. Nanming Palace's leader, White Dragon King. What realm is he? Rumor has it that he's at disaster transformation state. If he really comes to capture you, even if I mobilize the entire city, I won't be able to protect you, Xinhai said. Qin's heart tensed up. Ever since he gained initial success in the Sword Realm, even if he met a cauldron-filling state primary stage, he could still escape. But against the disaster transformation state, he had no other choice but to hide in the astral world. However, there was no way he could hide in the astral plane. If he did, Li Shanshan, Qi Longxing, and the others would definitely die. Since even the White WYRM King had been mobilized this time, the other party would definitely not rest until one of them was dead. Just as the two were worrying, Aku suddenly said, I still have tens of level 9 Earth escape talismans. It won't be a problem to escape disaster transformation state cultivators. Qin and Xinhai stared at Aku in disbelief. As expected of a senior who had lived for thousands of years, anything she took out was a supreme treasure. The highest grade Qin had ever seen was only a grade 7 Earth escape talisman. He never thought that Aku would have grade 9 Earth escape talismans, and more than 10 of them. However, Aku continued, over the years, I have relied on these escape talismans to save my life hundreds of times. Now, the remaining escape talismans are almost used up. The two of them rolled their eyes. If that was the case, didn't that mean that Aku had over 100 grade 9 Earth escape talismans? That was too sick. Young hero Qin, then hurry up and leave with your family and friends. I will help you buy some time. Xinhai had already flown to the city gate. Qin immediately found Li Shanshan and the others. When Qi Longxing found out that the White WYRM King had brought people to the city to capture Qin, he cursed angrily. In the end, he didn't leave with Qin and the others. Instead, he stayed in the city. Qin didn't stop Qi Longxing. He knew that Qi Longxing was the 8th son of the Black Serpent King. The White WYRM King wouldn't easily make things difficult for him, unless the White WYRM King wanted to start a war with the 3 islands of the north. The effect of the grade 8 Earth escape talisman exceeded Qin's expectations. It looked like a small talisman, but it instantly teleported them hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Qin didn't travel with Aku. However, he told Aku that if he had time, he planned to go to Spectre City and see if he could take Shinjuqing's immortal sword. However, taking the immortal sword was a matter for later. Now, Qin was being chased by various sects in the South Flat Continent. He had also offended the Nanming Palace, so he didn't plan to stay in the South Flat Continent. He wanted to take everyone back to the North Sand Continent to settle down. When Qin activated the Grade 9 Earth Escape Talisman, he specifically chose the teleportation location. At this moment, the 4 of them landed in a wilderness outside the Sand City. After another half a day's journey, they arrived at the original base of the North Ping faction. However, it had now been transformed into Hero City by Qin. The city was modernized, and it was similar to Hero City in Acropolis City. When Huaxian saw Qin return, she immediately ran out excitedly. Qin, you're back. Uncle Qin Huang, Grandpa Qin. Qin, you found Uncle and Grandpa. Huaxian, you didn't know Li Shanshan, so Qin first introduced her. The two beauties quickly became friends. They held hands and chatted happily as if they had known each other for many years. After chatting for a while, Qin's expression turned serious. I plan to bring you to the North Sand Continent. My base is there, and there are many of our family and friends there. Qin Huang and the others were completely unfamiliar with the Divine Supreme Continent. They didn't have a sense of belonging there. They didn't care whether they stayed in the South Flat Continent or the North Sand Continent. As long as they could reunite with Qin and the others, it was fine. They packed their luggage and set off. Qinfen took out the Flying Cloud All. This flying artifact was comparable to a high-grade true artifact. It could barely cross the Fallen God Sea. However, it was rumored that the depths of the Fallen God Sea were filled with danger. Even cauldron-filling state experts could die there. Qinfen was nervous about this trip. However, he knew that if they didn't leave the South Flat Continent as soon as possible, Qin Huang and the others would definitely be in danger. Feng, are we going to use this flying ship to fly to the North Sand Continent? Qin Huang couldn't help but ask. Even though he didn't know much about the Divine Supreme Continent, he had heard about the 4 continents. It was rumored that the 4 continents were separated by the Fallen God Sea. The Fallen God Sea was boundless. Even cauldron-filling state experts couldn't cross it. Among the 5 people in the Flying Cloud All, besides Qin Fen, who was at Empty God level 3, the other 4 were at Immortal Qi and Sage King realm. Crossing the Fallen God Sea with their cultivation, they would probably be laughed at to death. Don't be afraid. Even though the Fallen God Sea is filled with danger, my Flying Cloud All is extremely fast. Even a normal cauldron-filling state expert would have a hard time catching up with it. Also, I plan to strengthen the Flying Cloud All during this trip. If I can upgrade the Flying Cloud All to a Supreme Grade True Artifact, then crossing the Fallen God Sea wouldn't be a problem. Qin Fen had only seen a Supreme Grade True Artifact flying sword. He had never seen a Supreme Grade flying artifact flying ship. He had exchanged for the feather of a level 8 spiritual bird, the 1,000-year bird, at the Panshan Market. This was originally a material for forging the immortal artifact, Heaven Rainbow. Qin Fen planned to use it to forge the Flying Cloud All and see if he could upgrade the Flying Cloud All. Chapter 2014. In Qin Fen's opinion, if he could upgrade the Flying Cloud Augur to a Supreme Grade spiritual weapon, even a true form cultivator would find it hard to catch up. However, he was only a low-grade spiritual weapon Great Master. He was still miles away from becoming a Supreme Grade spiritual weapon Great Master. However, Qin Fen still wanted to give it a try. After he entered the Flying Cloud Augur, he took out 100 spirit crystals and countless high-grade spirit stones and threw them to Hua Xianyu so that she could control the Flying Cloud Augur. When the 100 spirit crystals were taken out, everyone was stunned. This was the first time they had seen spirit crystals. Qin Fen was using spirit crystals as energy for the Flying Cloud Augur. This was such a waste. Qin Fen was definitely not wasting resources. He only had 1,000 spirit crystals left. The reason why he took out 100 spirit crystals for the Flying Cloud Augur was to increase the speed of the flying boat. He knew better than anyone how terrifying the God-perishing sea was. If the powerful demon cultivator caught up with the Flying Cloud Augur, everyone would die. No matter how many resources they had, they wouldn't be able to take them away. Qin Fen had already locked himself in a room. He had set up a level 6 defense array to prevent the huge commotion during the blacksmithing process from scaring everyone. Now, most of the things in a storage ring weren't spirit herbs or materials for setting up arrays, but blacksmithing materials. In the past, Qin Fen rarely did blacksmithing. As a result, the materials in this area were piled up like a mountain. When he was promoted from a beginner to a low-grade spiritual weapon Great Master, the blacksmithing materials he had used were just the tip of the iceberg. When he saw the mountains of blacksmithing materials, Qin Fen was shocked. He couldn't help but think that he was probably the richest cultivator of the same generation in the North Sand Continent and the South Flat Continent. Even some seniors didn't have as many cultivation resources as he did. With so many blacksmithing materials, Qin Fen could do as he pleased. He immediately took out the weapon cauldron and started to forge low-grade spirit weapons. 5 days later, Qin Fen could only forge low-grade spirit armors at first. Now, he could forge low-grade spirit swords and offensive weapons. Now, he could also forge some middle-grade spirit weapons. His success rate was 50%. 10 days later, Qin Fen had completely stabilized his level as a middle-grade spirit weapon master. He could forge all middle-grade spirit weapons with a success rate of 90%. He could even forge a few high-grade spirit weapons. A month later, Qin Feng was promoted to a high-grade Spirit Tools Grandmaster. His success rate was 60%. During this entire month, he madly forged without rest. Even so, the materials in his storage ring didn't decrease at all. Qin Feng still did not stop, because he was still a long way from reaching the top-grade true weapon Grandmaster that he wanted. When he continued to forge, Qin Feng realized that the process of increasing the level of forging was extremely slow. He used a month to advance from a low-grade Great Master Spirit Blacksmith to a high-grade Great Master Spirit Blacksmith. But after another 2 months of hard work, he had just stepped into the level of a Great Master Spirit Blacksmith. Although Qin Feng could be considered a top-grade Spirit Weapon Grandmaster, his success rate of forging a top-grade Spirit Weapon was only 20%. Moreover, even if he did forge a top-grade Spirit Weapon, the quality and other aspects wouldn't be too good. Qin Feng knew that this was because he had been improving too quickly recently. This caused his forging foundation to be unstable. If he continued to forge like this, he would only get half the result with twice the effort. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. When Qin Feng walked out of the room, he saw the vast sea outside the soaring cloud all. In these 3 months, the soaring cloud all had been speeding up nonstop. Qin Feng had used 10 of the 100 spirit crystals he left. This showed what kind of speed the soaring cloud all had reached. Qin Feng, you're out. Seeing Qin Feng come out, Hua Xianyu and the others immediately surrounded him happily. They glanced at Qin Feng and realized that he didn't have a breakthrough this time. This made the 4 of them confused. Where are we? Qin Feng looked around at the vast sea and asked, Feng Air, according to the map you gave us, we've flown to the center of the fallen god sea. Qin Feng's expression became serious. The center of the fallen god sea was the most dangerous place. Without an airship, even a cauldron-filling state or disaster transformation state cultivator would die in the center of the sea. However, the sea was peaceful and beautiful. It couldn't be associated with a dangerous place. Qin Feng used his divine sense to scan the bottom of the sea. However, he couldn't scan it at all. Did we encounter any danger along the way? Qin Feng asked. Hua Xianyu answered. When we first entered the Gray Island, a large group of beast cultivators chased after us. However, they were too slow and were shaken off by the soaring cloud all. After entering the fallen god sea, we were chased by some beast cultivators and human cultivators. However, the soaring cloud all flew like a shooting star. No one could catch up to us. Qin Feng immediately guessed that the demon cultivators who were pursuing them were from the Nanming Temple. Furthermore, the White Flood Dragon King was not among the pursuing team. Otherwise, no matter how fast the soaring cloud all was with its current level, it would not be able to escape the pursuit of a disaster transformation realm cultivator. Qin Feng guessed that the White Dragon King was still in the 80-mile city. He didn't know what happened in the end. Did the White Dragon King make things difficult for Senior Xian Hai? Would he really kill Qi Longxing in a fit of anger? Qin Feng, why do I feel movement on the surface of the sea? Just as Qin Feng was worrying about the situation in the 80-mile city, Hua Xianyu suddenly screamed. Everyone ran to the control room and quickly discovered the changes on the surface of the sea. The originally calm azure sea was now rippling. The amplitude of the ripples was not strong, but they were constantly spreading to the surrounding sea surface. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the ripples seemed to have spread to the center of the fallen god sea. Waves formed and became stronger. It was as if a super sea beast was about to emerge from the bottom of the sea. This spectacular scene reminded Qin Feng of the way the black tortoise appeared. The black tortoise stayed on Earth. He didn't know how strong it was now. At this time, a huge whirlpool had formed in the center of the fallen god sea. The sea water was spinning crazily, like a giant top speeding on the surface of the sea. There were waves around it. The waves that rushed out of the sea were hundreds of meters high. They were like water dragons. What is this? A tsunami? This is the first time I've seen such a spectacular tsunami. Feng Air, should we continue to move forward? I feel that the soaring cloud all will be destroyed in the tsunami. Everyone was shocked. They were completely stunned by the turbulent waves and the whirlpool in front of them. Qin Feng was stunned. At this time, the entire sea was spinning violently. The soaring cloud all was suspended in midair. It was like a small flying insect in a vast land. "Quick, fly up!" Qin Feng exclaimed. Hua Xianyu immediately pressed the button. The soaring cloud all instantly rose. It was like a giant spiritual bird and flew straight into the sky. Not long after the soaring cloud all flew into the sky, the void where it was flying was hit by a wave. There was a violent wind-breaking sound in the air. It was as if the space was torn apart. The people on the ship broke out in a cold sweat. They were terrified. If the soaring cloud all was a few seconds later, they would have died in this terrifying whirlpool. "Qin Feng, what should we do now?" Hua Xianyu's hand that was controlling the soaring cloud all was trembling. Li Shanshan and the others looked at Qin Feng. Qin Feng was their only hope of survival. Qin Feng's expression was extremely solemn. He had heard that the fallen god sea was full of danger. Not only were there beastly cultivators, but there were also many natural disasters. Now that he had encountered it, he knew how terrifying this place was. The whirlpool didn't show any signs of stopping. The area of the sea surface was getting bigger and bigger. The surging waves became more ferocious. When they hit the void, the impact was comparable to the true energy attack of a cauldron-filling state expert. The soaring cloud all rose again and again. However, it suddenly stopped rising. Qin Feng and the others suddenly felt a huge suction force from the sea under their feet. It was sucking the soaring cloud all into the whirlpool. "Not good, Feng Air. We're going to be sucked in." Qin Huang's expression changed. In front of such a powerful natural disaster, their immortal qi and Saint King realm cultivation were like ants. Qin Feng was even more nervous. He knew that the speed of the soaring cloud all could be said to be the fastest among the high-grade true artifacts. However, it was still being sucked into the whirlpool at the bottom of the sea. He thought that if he wasn't in the soaring cloud all, he would be instantly swallowed by the whirlpool. Facing such a terrifying whirlpool, Qin Feng no longer had the urge to cross the fallen god sea. He knew that if they didn't leave now, only death would be waiting for them. Just as he was controlling the soaring cloud, all to return, dozens of flying ships flew over from above the waves. Those flying ships were obviously cultivators who were exploring the nearby sea or crossing the fallen god sea. However, the grade of those flying ships wasn't as high as the soaring cloud all. Several flying ships had already been sucked into the whirlpool and were instantly submerged. What a powerful whirlpool! If we were sucked in, we would be destroyed instantly. Qin Shitian was shocked. Everyone's mood was extremely solemn. Qin Feng didn't care about anything else. He immediately threw 10 spirit crystals into the energy slot of the soaring cloud all. Then, he increased the speed of the soaring cloud all to the maximum. He flew like a meteor in the sea. The flying ships behind him were getting further and further away. Qin Feng saw that when some flying ships were about to fall into the whirlpool, the cultivators inside had no choice but to jump off the ship and escape. However, this action would only make them die faster. When they tried to rush into the sky, they were instantly smashed into pieces by the waves. Among the dozen cultivators that were instantly submerged, Qin Feng even saw an early-stage cauldron-filling state cultivator. This kind of cultivator was rare even in the South Flat Continent. However, in this sudden marine natural disaster, they were as vulnerable as ants. Qin Feng didn't dare to imagine what would happen if the soaring cloud all was sucked into the whirlpool. With the cultivation of Hua Xianyu and the others, they would definitely die instantly. Even he wouldn't be able to withstand a few breaths. "Fellow cultivator in front, please take the two of us away. I will definitely reward you handsomely." With the help of the spirit crystals, the soaring cloud all speed increased explosively. Just as it was about to leave the huge whirlpool, a cry for help came from the back of the flying ship. When Qin Feng scanned with his divine sense, he frowned slightly. Chapter 2015. Behind him were two cultivators, one old and one young. Judging from the old man's ancient aura, He was at least a senior who had lived for hundreds of years. As for the young cultivator, he was not really young, but much younger than the old man. The reason why Qin Fen suddenly frowned was because he recognized the young cultivator. Fenger, am I seeing things? Someone is flying in the whirlpool of the waves? Qin Huang was dumbfounded. Li Shanshan and the others were also dumbfounded. The maelstrom was extremely ferocious and possessed an endless suction force. Even a flying ship that was flying at top speed would be sucked in. And yet, these two cultivators were riding flying swords towards a soaring cloud all. The man Qin Fen knew was called Yuduo. He was one of the 88 human cauldrons auctioned by the dominating Heaven Cauldron firm at the auction in the 80-mile city. When Qin Fen killed the great elder of the celestial gourd, Mu Feng, and the others, he released the 88 human cauldrons. Yuduo was very grateful and told Qin Fen that he was from the East Dragon Palace. He even invited Qin Fen to visit the East Dragon Palace when he was free. Qin Fen could not go to the Grey Island now. He was being hunted by the Nanming Temple. Going there would be suicide. However, he was surprised by Yuduo's cultivation. When he let him go, Yuduo was still at level 6 of the true spirit realm. After 4 months, Yuduo had already reached the peak of the true spirit realm and could break through the barrier of the hollow god realm at any time. When he saw the cultivation of the old man next to Yuduo, Qin Fen was even more shocked. The old man's aura was majestic and turbulent. Qin Fen could not see through it, but he could feel that this person's aura was similar to Senior Exine High's. He was at least a cauldron-filling realm expert. Fenger, let's ignore them. Seeing the soaring cloud all slow down, Qin Huang reminded him. It was not that Qin Huang was ruthless, but that everyone could not protect themselves now. If they went back to save people, they would most likely be killed as well. Qin Huang and the others could see that the old man's cultivation was powerful. If these two people abandoned the bridge after crossing it, it would be big trouble. Don't worry, everyone. Those two are my friends. Qin Fen turned the soaring cloud all around and rushed back. In just a few seconds, he had already rushed to Yuduo's side. When the two of them saw that the spaceship, which was as fast as a meteor, had really returned, they were shocked at first, but then they immediately revealed a look of pleasant surprise. The cabin door opened, and the elder pulled Yuduo into the flying cloud all. Qin Fen didn't have time to greet Yuduo, and immediately turned the nose of the flying cloud all and shot out. The whirlpool of waves behind them roared. The violent explosions and slapping sounds seemed to explode right beside their ears. Some of the waves hit the flying cloud all, causing the entire spaceship to shake violently. It felt like it was going to fall into the sea at any time. Don't worry, everyone. There's a defensive array on the spaceship. It'll be fine for a while. Qin Fen comforted her. He realized that only 7 of the 10 crystals he had thrown into the energy slot were left. Even Qin Fen felt his heart ache at this rate of consumption. However, he had no time to think about it. He immediately threw another 5 spirit crystals into the energy slot. The flying cloud all swayed a few times before regaining its stability. Its speed soared all the way. Wherever it went, the air would be pierced. The shrill sound of the wind could be compared to the roar of the turbulent sea waves. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the flying cloud all had completely escaped the whirlpool of waves. When they turned around, the sea behind them was covered in rain and fog. It was like the end of the world. Benefactor, it's really you. I didn't expect to see you here. After the crisis, Yuduo gradually calmed down. When he looked at the people in the flying cloud all, his gaze finally fell on Qin Fen. Duo Air, you know them? The cauldron-filling state elder asked. Yuduo immediately introduced. Father, this is Qin Feng's benefactor that I mentioned to you before. 5 months ago, I was captured by that bastard Jest and sold to a human furnish trading company in the 80-mile city. Then, I was bought by an elder of the Celestial Gourd sect. After that, Qin Feng's benefactor killed the people of the Celestial Gourd sect and released all of our human furnaces. After hearing this, the cauldron-filling state elder immediately cupped his fists at Qin Fen. So this is young hero Qin. Thank you for saving Duo Air that day. Also, it's all thanks to young hero Qin this time. Otherwise, Duo Air and I would have died in the Sea of Death. Back then, Qin Feng didn't understand why you Duo, a disciple of the East Dragon Palace, would be captured and sold to the dominating human furnace trading company to become a human furnace. Now that he heard Duo's story, he understood that Jest was intentionally targeting Duo. However, Qin Feng didn't understand. Jest was the #1 Yao cultivator in the Green Island and had already reached the cauldron-filling state. Why would he go against Duo, who was only true Spirit Realm 6? However, Qin Feng immediately shook his head and tossed these messy thoughts aside. The conflict between the Yao cultivators had nothing to do with him. Moreover, now that Gerst was dead, Qin Feng could be said to have avenged Duo. I saw elder brother Duo, so I drove the flying ship back to save you. Elder brother Duo and I are fated, so there's no need for senior to be so polite. Qin Feng cupped his fist at Yu Hailong. This was a cauldron-filling state expert, so he had to be polite. The old man looked at Qin Feng meaningfully. He could see that Qin Feng was only a hollow spirit realm level 3, but this young cultivator had a high-grade flying ship. Moreover, he didn't even bat an eyelid when facing a cauldron-filling state expert like him. When he looked at Qin Huang and the others, they broke out in a cold sweat from the pressure of a cauldron-filling state expert. Since young hero Qin has said so, this old man won't be polite anymore. This old man is called Yu Hailong, one of the 4 protectors of the East Dragon Palace. It is my Duo Heir's good fortune to know a hero like you. Yu Hailong smiled. Qin Feng immediately understood the problem he didn't understand before. So Duo's father was one of the 4 protectors of the East Dragon Palace. It seemed that Jest dealt with Duo to teach the East Dragon Palace a lesson. Jest is dead, so elder brother Duo can let go of his hatred. Qin Feng said. Hearing this news, Duo and Yu Hailong were shocked. Duo yelled, "What? Jest is dead. Who killed him? Someone actually dared to kill him?" Seeing the two's reaction, Qin Feng was puzzled. Such a big matter had already spread around the Green Island. Even many of the large sects of the South Flat continent knew about it. Yet, as a disciple of the East Dragon Palace, Duo didn't know about this. Elder brother Duo, you didn't know about this? Qin Feng asked. Duo understood Qin Feng's thoughts and immediately said, Young hero Qin, my father and I have been exploring the Fallen God Sea for the past few months. We just arrived at the center of the sea a few days ago. We didn't expect to encounter the Death Sea whirlpool. If it wasn't for young hero Qin, we would have died in the center of the sea. We wouldn't know about Jest. Qin Feng understood. No wonder Duo and Yu Hailong didn't know about such a big matter. However, Qin Feng didn't say that he killed Jest. If he did, Duo would have many questions. Qin Feng didn't bother to explain. By the way, elder brother Duo, the Death Sea whirlpool you mentioned is the whirlpool of waves. Qin Feng changed the topic. Once the huge waves were mentioned, everyone in the cabin had solemn expressions. Their eyes were filled with lingering fear. Chapter 2016. That's right. The Death Sea whirlpool is the huge whirlpool of waves that we encountered earlier. It's a place of absolute death in the center of the Godfall Sea. Even a true-form cultivator would find it hard to cross it. The Death Sea whirlpool has no pattern. It appears suddenly. Because of this, it's impossible to cross the Godfall Sea, Duo explained. Li Shanshan and the others felt heavy-hearted. They had seen the power of the Death Sea whirlpool. They felt hopeless about crossing the Godfall Sea to the North Sand Continent. Qin Feng didn't think so. He knew how ferocious the Death Sea whirlpool was. However, the suction of the whirlpool was limited. If the Flying Cloud all could be upgraded to a supreme-grade true artifact, they would be able to get rid of the suction and cross the sea. Qin Feng had come to the South Flat Continent using the large flying ship of the Black Glory Merchant Union. He had crossed the Godfall Sea, but he hadn't encountered the Death Sea whirlpool. However, Qin Feng believed that even if he had encountered it, the Black Glory Merchant Union's intercontinental flying ship would have been able to cross it. However, the process of building the intercontinental flying ship was very difficult. The The various top-notch materials needed were almost extinct. Moreover, the intercontinental flying ship had to be at least a supreme-grade true artifact. Such large airships were generally owned by chambers of commerce and large forces. It was extremely rare for an individual cultivator to get their hands on one. Moreover, most of the intercontinental airships owned by large chambers of commerce were found in ancient ruins or passed down from the time of the founding ancestors of the sects and chambers of commerce. Oh no, Feng, the whirlpool of waves is catching up to us again, Qin Emperor suddenly shouted. Everyone looked behind them and realized that the whirlpool of waves was spreading faster and was catching up to the flying cloud all. Qin Fen was frustrated by the Death Sea whirlpool. He could have driven the flying cloud all back the way he had come and escaped the pursuit of the waves. However, he didn't want to go back to Green Island. He would still encounter trouble there. Qin Fen really wanted to go back to the North Sand continent to settle Li Shanshan and the others down and then take revenge. Brother Yu, do we just wait for death every time we encounter the whirlpool of waves? Qin Fen asked. Yu Duo suddenly came to his senses. All right, young hero Qin, hurry and drive in the direction of the 9 o'clock sea region. There's a place called Deep Sea City. There's a city nearby. Qin Feng was in disbelief. This time Yu Hailong spoke up. Duo is right. There is only one city in the heart of the Godfall Sea, Deep Sea City. Every time there is a whirlpool of death, the fleeing cultivators would go to Deep Sea City. It is said that there is a top-grade defensive array around Deep Sea City, capable of resisting the impact of the waves. Qin Feng and the others were shocked. How powerful must the defensive formation be to be able to block the incomparably ferocious whirlpool of waves? Qin Fen immediately changed his direction and flew toward the 9 o'clock region. An hour later, a lone island appeared on the boundless azure sea. From afar, the lone island looked like a small boat in the deep sea. It looked like it was about to collapse. No matter how you looked at it, it didn't look like a place that could withstand the sea of death's whirlpool. However, when the soaring cloud all approached the island, Qin Feng immediately felt the intense fluctuations of a formation. Just as Yu Hailong said, the island was surrounded by a powerful defensive formation. The formation's aura was ancient and majestic. Even with Qin Feng's current level of a formation grandmaster, he couldn't see through the defensive formation. The soaring cloud all landed on the shore of the island. Qin Feng led Li Shanshan and the others off the boat. Just as his feet touched the ground, a black figure flew over from afar. It seemed like he was also trying to avoid the sea of death's whirlpool. The person was riding on a black flying sword. His speed was extremely fast, leaving a black stream of light in the sky like a meteor. As soon as he landed, he looked like he was in a hurry to enter Deep Sea City. However, he suddenly stopped, and his eyes fell on the soaring cloud all. It's actually a high-grade flying ship? This flying ship is mine. The person was about to take the soaring cloud all away. Qin Feng's face turned cold. True Yuan surged from his body, and he shouted, That's my flying ship. You'd better scram. You're just an empty God Realm level 3 human ant. How dare you talk to me like this? You must be tired of living. The other party temporarily stopped putting away the soaring cloud all and flew towards Qin Feng with a palm strike. This old man looked to be in his 50s and was already body condensation state level 6. When his true Yuan surged, there was a beastly aura around him. Clearly, he was a shape-shifted beastly cultivator. With Qin Feng's current strength, it was still a bit difficult for him to deal with a body condensation state middle-stage beast cultivator. However, he wouldn't let the old man get on top of him. Just as he was about to use his domain to trap the old man, a giant true Yuan palm fell from the sky and flew towards the old man. Boom! The palm landed on the sea and set off a huge wave. Its aura was almost as powerful as the waves in the Sea of Death. However, this palm didn't hit the old man. Or rather, Yu Hailong didn't plan to fight him at all. However, Yu Hailong had revealed his cauldron-filling state cultivation. The old demon cultivator was shocked. He saw that Qin Feng and the others had low cultivation, so he wanted to steal the soaring cloud all. Now that he saw a cauldron-filling state demon cultivator jump out of the flying ship, he regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Qin Feng didn't understand why Yu Hailong held back. Was it because the old man was also a beast cultivator, so he didn't kill him? He couldn't figure out, so he put the soaring cloud all away. That high-grade flying ship isn't Qianbei's? The old man was dazed. He thought the flying ship belonged to Yu Hailong. You have no business here. Leave quickly, Yu Hailong said coldly. The body condensation state beast cultivator didn't leave. He seemed to have thought of something, and his panicked eyes calmed down. Qianbei, we're both beast cultivators. Why are you helping a bunch of human ants? If the beast cultivators nearby know about this, even if your cauldron-filling state, you won't feel good. Yu Hailong said angrily. Do I need you to tell me how I do things? Don't think I don't dare to kill you. I'll kill you with one palm and leave immediately. The body condensation state beast cultivator became nervous again. Qin Feng couldn't understand the conversation between him and Yu Hailong. Yu Duo then whispered into Qin Feng's ear, young hero Qin, killing is prohibited in the outer and inner regions of Deep Sea City. Qin Feng understood. No wonder Yu Hailong was just bluffing and didn't want to fight the body condensation state beast cultivator. Dragon Ear, will remember today. Don't think you're great just because you're cauldron-filling state. Our Dragon Sea gang has many cauldron-filling state experts. Just wait and see. The body condensation state beast cultivator was clearly scared by Yu Hailong's words. He grumbled angrily and disappeared above the island. Qin Feng immediately discovered that the entrance to Deep Sea City was concealed by a concealment formation. Moreover, the concealment formation was of a very high level. Qin Feng couldn't find the formation eye or the entrance at all. Moreover, Dragon Ear had somehow managed to sneak into Deep Sea City. Just as Qin Feng was thinking, Yu Hailong said, Young hero Qin, you need a Deep Sea token to enter Deep Sea City. I only have one, and one Deep Sea token can only let one person in. As for you and Duo Air, you need to buy Deep Sea Jelly. Don't worry about the money. The main thing is to verify your identity. There will be powerful cultivators using their divine sense to scan your body. Don't worry. This clearly wasn't the first time Yu Hailong had come to Godfall Ocean and encountered the Death Sea whirlpool. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a Deep Sea token. But this wasn't what Qin Feng was concerned about. He was worried that when the powerful cultivators scanned, would they detect the existence of the system? Although Qin Feng was a little worried, he had no other choice but to follow Yu Hailong to the island. When they arrived in an empty plaza, there were 2 Yao cultivator guards standing guard at the side of the plaza. We want to get 6 Deep Sea tokens, Yu Hailong said. Qin Feng scanned the 2 guards and was shocked. They were both body condensation state peak stage, but they were guarding the entrance. Each Deep Sea token costs 1 million high-grade spirit stones. Check your body first. If there's no problem, I'll do it for you. One of the guards said, No problem. Here's 6 million spirit stones. Yu Hailong happily paid the processing fee for Qin Feng and the others. Qin Feng wasn't in the mood to thank Yu Hailong. He was worried that something might go wrong with the divine sense check. But after a while, he realized he was thinking too much. Maybe their cultivation levels were too low. The 2 body condensation state beast cultivators were the ones doing the check. After scanning with their divine sense, they didn't find anything strange. One of the guards threw out 6 Deep Sea tokens. You can go in. The 7 of them entered Deep Sea City. They seemed to have passed through a teleportation array, but the distance wasn't very far. When he felt the ground under his feet again, Qin Feng realized the surroundings had changed. This was like a bustling city. If it wasn't for the humid air and the fishy smell of the sea, he wouldn't even think that he was in the center of Godfall Sea. Qin Feng knew that there was a soundproof array set up in Deep Sea City. The sound from the Death Sea spiral outside the city couldn't be heard. The number of people in the city exceeded Qin Feng's expectations. The streets were wide and people came and went. It wasn't any worse than South Flat Continent's #1 public city, Sky Connection City. Qin Feng soon realized that the cultivators who came to Deep Sea City were all of high realms. Along the way, the weakest cultivator he saw was in the true spirit realm. Most of the true spirit realm cultivators were traveling with one or a few almighties, just like Yu Duo and Yu Hailong. On his side, Li Shanshan and Qin Huang had just stepped into immortal Qi realm. Hua Xianyu and Qin Shitian had just reached Sage King. They were like ants in Deep Sea City and attracted many people's attention. Those people aren't afraid of death. There are even 2 immortal Qi realm and Sage King realm cultivators who came to explore the heart of Godfall Sea. There are trillions of cultivators in the divine supreme continent. There are many who aren't afraid of death. If those people are tired of living, let them be. Why bother? Chapter 2017. Some words fell into the ears of Qin Shi Huang and the others, making them unhappy. Yu Hailong said, "Don't mind what they say. Anyways, killing is prohibited in Deep Sea City. Let them say what they want. We just need to mind our own business." Qin Feng nodded. "Thank you, Senior Yu, for helping me. Also, I'll transfer the 5 million spirit stones to you now." Yu Hailong immediately waved his hand. "Young hero Qin, if you keep being so polite, I'll be angry. You've saved my duo heir's life twice, and not long ago, you also saved me once. Compared to saving my life, those small matters are not worth mentioning." Qin Feng didn't care about the 5 million spirit stones. He just wanted to see what kind of person Yu Hailong was. So far, he seemed to be a good person. They came to Deep Sea City to seek refuge. According to Yu Hailong, the Death Sea whirlpool would last for a few days before dissipating. During these few days, they could only stay in Deep Sea City. Deep Sea City was huge and had all kinds of shops. They first found a place to stay and then wandered around the city. Feng Air, the weapon shops here, even sell high-grade true weapons. I just saw a Heavenly Pole Technique manual. It's priced at 1 billion spirit stones and requires a few specific items to buy. There are true spirit and hollow spirit realm cultivators everywhere. Body condensation realm cultivators can be seen everywhere, and a cauldron filling state cultivator would fly by from time to time. I wonder when we can reach that level. The Qin Emperor and the others were shocked to the core while they were strolling on the street. In fact, Qin Feng was stunned as well. When he participated in the South Flat Continent's Genius Conference in Tiantong City, the elites of all the continents gathered couldn't compare to the experts in Deep Sea City. However, Qin Feng quickly calmed down. He realized that this place wasn't as simple as the South Pingzhou continent. This was the heart of the divine Fall Sea. Cultivators from all 4 continents of the divine supreme continent were gathered here. Moreover, the cultivators who could appear here must be the top of the 4 continents. Otherwise, ordinary people would not dare to cross the divine Fall Sea. Why are there so many people locked in cages over there? Hua Xianyu suddenly pointed to a large plaza. The square was filled with over 1,000 iron cages. Inside each cage was a cultivator. Some were human cultivators, some were Yao cultivators, some were demonic cultivators, and even ghost cultivators. When they saw this scene, the expressions of Yu Duo and the others immediately turned cold. He, Qin Huang, and Qin Shitian had all been captured and used as cultivation furnaces before, so they knew very well what the people imprisoned in the square were like. Although Li Shanshan wasn't captured to be a cultivation furnace, she was also forcibly captured during the Tsangdao beauty pageant. Therefore, when she saw the people imprisoned in the square who had lost their freedom, her heart was very moved. Qin Feng knew that Yu Duo and the others were thinking about the sad past, so he prepared to take everyone to other places. However, as soon as he turned around, he immediately turned back to look at the plaza. When his divine sense locked onto an iron cage in the center of the plaza, he revealed an expression of disbelief. "Young hero Qin, what's wrong?" Yu Hailong asked. Qin Feng looked at the center of the plaza again. In his line of sight, there was a black-robed man imprisoned in a cage. His hair and face were covered in dirt, and he looked extremely sloppy. The man's eyes were dull and lifeless, and his aura was weak. Someone must have destroyed his dantian. "Is that President He Yao?" Qin Feng mumbled to himself. Qin Huang and the others didn't know who He Yao was, so they didn't understand why Fen looked so shocked. Young hero Chen, is there a friend of yours in there? Yu Hailong asked. Fen came back to his senses and asked, Senior Yu, can the cultivation furnaces here be bought with spirit stones? Yu Hailong nodded and said, this is the largest cultivation furnaces trading market in Deep Sea City. As long as you have enough spirit stones, you can buy any kind of cultivation furnaces. Fen immediately rushed to the center of the plaza. As soon as he stood beside He Yao's iron cage, the shop assistant here ran over with a smile. Young hero, do you need a cultivation furnace? Our Deep Sea Cultivation Furnaces is the largest cultivation furnace trading company in Deep Sea City. We have the approval of the City Lord of Deep Sea City. Our cultivation furnaces are of high quality, of many types, and at a low price. You can definitely buy and use them with peace of mind. Fen couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted him. How much is that cultivation furnace? The shop assistant glanced at He Yao's cage and said with a smile, oh, young hero, you have a good eye. This cultivation furnace is still fresh and has only been here for less than a month. He used to be a level 3 empty god-human cultivator, but his Dantian has been destroyed. However, his empty god clone is still here, so it won't affect young hero's cultivation. Fen felt a chill in his heart. President He Yao, one of the top experts in the North Sand continent, had fallen to such a state. He couldn't help but recall the scene when He Yao sent him to the South Flat continent 3 years ago. At that time, He Yao was afraid that he would die in the South Flat continent. But now, the two of them were in completely different situations. You're Fen? He Yao's unfocused gaze refocused as he looked at Fen in disbelief. Seeing this, the shop assistant rolled his eyes a few times. He obviously realized that Fen and He Yao knew each other, so he planned to raise the price higher. President He Yao, we'll talk later. I'll buy you first. Fen gave He Yao a reassuring look, then asked the shop assistant, how much? Like I said, this cultivation furnace is fresh, and it's at level 3 empty god, so its price will definitely be higher than other cultivation furnaces. Fen interrupted him impatiently. Just tell me, how much? 1,000? The shop assistant opened his mouth, but immediately changed it. 50 million high-grade spirit stones. Fen knew that the shop assistant wanted to raise the price, because he knew that Fen knew He Yao. What? 50 million spirit stones for a level 3 empty god human cultivation furnace? Why don't you just rob someone? Duo had been captured as a cultivation furnace before, so he knew this trade very well. The shop assistant felt that he had shouted too much and was embarrassed. But since he had already said it, he couldn't lower the price. I'm sorry, this cultivation furnace is of high quality. We also have the 10 million cultivation furnace you mentioned. Why don't I bring you guys over to take a look? Duo was furious. What high-quality cultivation furnace? It's all the same. Did you see that young hero Chen knows that cultivation furnace, friend? So, you purposely raised the price? The shop assistant jumped in fright. Raising the price was strictly forbidden in Deep Sea City. If the city lord or the chief enforcer found out, they would be severely punished. What are you talking about? I don't think you're here to buy cultivation furnaces. Are you trying to cause trouble? The shop assistant immediately retorted. True essence surged from Yu Hailong's body, and he said with authority, of course we're here to buy cultivation furnaces, but you're greedy. Even if you want to scam money, you need to see who you're dealing with. You even dare to scam us. Are you tired of living? The power of a cauldron-filling state cultivator made the shop assistant shiver in fear. He regretted not seeing who he was dealing with. He really didn't see Yu Hailong at the front. What's going on here? Someone dares to cause trouble at Deep Sea Human Cultivation Furnace Trading Company? A body condensation state, middle stage old man walked over. Seeing this person, Yu Hailong's aura surged. It was Dragon Ear who wanted to steal the flying cloud drill at the entrance of Deep Sea City. It's you idiots? Great. I was worried about not being able to find you. Didn't expect you to come to me. Isn't it just a cauldron-filling state cultivator? Do you think the Dragon Sea gang is useless? Dragon Ear had already recognized Qin Feng and the others. This deep-sea human cultivation furnace trading company was the Dragon Sea Gang's business. Seeing Dragon Ear, Qin Feng's mood became serious. He wasn't afraid of Dragon Ear. With his initial success and hollow spirit state level 3 cultivation, he could barely deal with a body condensation state middle stage cultivator. Qin Feng was afraid he wouldn't be able to take He Yao away. After all, He Yao had helped him when he was in trouble. How could he not help? Maybe Dragon Ear secretly sent out a flying sword message. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, 2 black figures flew over from afar, both with powerful auras. Seeing them, Yu Hailong's expression became serious. One of them was a cauldron filling state level 3 beast cultivator, and the other was a cauldron filling state level 4 like him. As soon as the 2 landed, they asked about Dragon Ear. "Brother Dragon Ear, what's going on?" Dragon Ear immediately cupped his fists and said, "Brother Long Bin, Brother Long Chung. Someone is causing trouble at our human cultivation furnace trading company." Hearing this, the 2 were enraged. Their true yuan surged as if there were waves surging behind them. The powerful aura made Qin Emperor and the others breathless. "You dare to cause trouble at Deep Sea City? You must be tired of living." The cauldron-filling state level 4 beast cultivator, Long Bin, yelled. Even Qin Fen couldn't withstand his pressure. Yu Hailong immediately propped up a true essence shield, protecting everyone within it. "We are here to buy human cultivation furnaces in good faith, but your man raised the price. Now you want to slander us? Then I'll have to ask the chief protector of the city to uphold justice." This wasn't Yu Hailong's first time at Deep Sea City, so he was very calm. Only now did Long Bin realize that Qin Feng had a cauldron-filling state intermediate stage expert. He retracted his aura. Actually, for Deep Sea Human Cultivation Furnace Trading Company, they were only doing business in Deep Sea City. They didn't want to offend the chief protector and the city lord. You want to find the chief protector for such a trivial matter? Do you think the chief protector has nothing better to do? Long Bin yelled. Yu Hailong wanted to retort, but Qin Feng spoke first. "Fine. I'll give you 50 million high-grade spirit stones according to the price just now. Give me that person." Qin Feng didn't want to cause any more trouble. If it got out of hand, he would be the one to suffer. Moreover, as the president of the Blacklight Chamber of Commerce, the second largest chamber of commerce in the North Sand region, the thing that Darklight cared the least about was spirit stones. Now that he was quarreling over 50 million upper-grade spirit stones, it was an insult to him. "Brother Qin, thank you." Darklight understood Qin Feng's thoughts and looked at him gratefully. Chapter 2018. Qin Feng agreed to pay 50 million high-grade spirit stones for Darklight, but Dragon Ear said something to Long Bin. Long Bin said with a cold face, "I'm not selling that furnace. It doesn't matter how many spirit stones you pay." Qin Feng was furious. "You said 50 million spirit stones, and now you're going back on your word. If you don't keep your word, who will come here to buy things in the future?" Qin Feng purposely raised his voice to attract more cultivators. If Deep Sea Furnace Trading Company's reputation was gone, they wouldn't be able to continue operating in Deep Sea City. Seeing dozens of cultivators fly over, Long Bin and the others' faces darkened. "You brat, you'd better not be unreasonable. Our Deep Sea Furnace Trading Company never promised you that we would sell that furnace. It was you who thought too highly of yourself and begged us to buy it. Now you're slandering us and slandering our integrity. I think you're deliberately looking for trouble. If you don't get out of here, I'll call the protectors of the city to deal with you." If it was someone else, Qin Feng might not be bothered, but President Darklight had sent him to South Flat Continent. That was why he had his current achievements in cultivation. He couldn't just leave Darklight. Before Qin Feng could say anything, Yu Hailong pulled him back and said telepathically, "Both parties must agree to a deal in Deep Sea City. If the other party insists on not selling, there's no point in making a fuss. In the end, we'll only be charged with causing trouble and killed by the city protectors. Is there any other way? I have to save that friend." Qin Feng said anxiously. Yu Hailong sighed as if he had made a difficult decision. There's another way. Never mind. Young Master Qin saved me and duo air. I'll repay your kindness now. Those human cauldrons are originally free. If their friends find them, they can win back their human cauldrons through a challenge. Qin Fan didn't understand what Yu Hailong meant. Who do we challenge? Yu Hailong said, it's not certain who will be challenging. If we send one cultivator, the other party will also send one cultivator. If we win, we can take away the cultivation vessel for free. If we lose, the cultivation vessel will still be theirs. This time, Qin Feng had a general understanding of the situation. He also understood why Yu Hailong's expression was so serious. This cauldron-filling state senior was clearly planning to help him fight. Without waiting for Yu Hailong to step out, Qin Feng jumped out first. That human furnace is my good friend. Right now, I want to issue a challenge to your deep-sea human furnace trading company. If I win, I will take that human furnace friend away. This rule was not only limited to Deep Sea City, but also applied to all human furnace firms. It was just that Qin Fan didn't know about this rule when he was in the 80-kilometer city. Otherwise, he would have directly issued a challenge to Corrido and take Qin Huang and Qin Shitian away no matter what. A playful smile appeared on Long Bin's face, as if he was waiting for Qin Feng to issue a challenge. One had to know that killing was strictly prohibited in Deep Sea City. However, cultivators could initiate a life and death battle, and if both sides agreed, they could go to the martial arts field to fight. Humph! What a reckless human ant. A mere hollow spirit state, level 3 dares to challenge the dignity of the Dragon Sea Gang. Fine, let this old man show you what I'm capable of. Longbin was just about to fight when he was stopped by Dragon Ear. Senior brother Longbin, there's no need for you to personally deal with such an ant. Wouldn't that lower your status? It just so happens that I've long disliked that brat. Let me kill him. Longbin thought about it and agreed. The opponent was merely a hollow spirit state level 3 ant. If he really killed Qin Feng, he would be laughed at. Long Air was already at body condensation state middle stage, so he was more than enough to kill Qin Feng. Okay, then let Martial Brother Long Air fight. Otherwise, people will say that our Dragon Sea Gang is bullying people. Long Bin yelled, letting a body condensation state middle stage cultivator fight a hollow spirit state level 3 was clearly unfair. Long Bin and the others still acted like they were giving way to Qin Feng. This was simply too laughable. Yu Hailong didn't know Qin Feng's true strength at all. Although Yu Duo saw Qin Feng kill Celestial Gourd Sect Body Condensation State Level 2 Grand Elder Mu Feng, now that he was facing Body Condensation State Level 6 Long Air, he also felt that Qin Feng couldn't do it. However, Li Shanshan and the others weren't worried at all. They had heard of Qin Feng's might when he challenged the Sword Realm. Not only did he personally kill 2 Body Condensation State cultivators, but he also killed a cauldron-filling state genius like Jezite. After that, he even helped Xian Hai and Li Tian kill cauldron-filling realm big shots like Hai Qiji and Yin Fei. This was just a body condensation state middle stage beast cultivator. How could he be Qin Feng's match? If Qin Feng didn't know what they were thinking, he would be depressed to death. The reason why he could easily kill a body condensation stage cultivator in the sword domain, and even kill Jezite, was because of the power of the sword formation in the sword domain. If it was just his domain, he would only be able to trap Jezite, and would not be able to kill him. Young hero Qin, let me fight for you. The strongest person on the other side is only at Cauldron Ekiana stage 4, which is the same realm as me. There's still some suspense in this battle. If you fight, there's no point in fighting. Yu Hailong persuaded Qin Feng. Yu Duo then said, Young Master Qin, my father is one of the 4 protectors of the East Dragon Palace. He is one of the best cultivators of the same level. He often kills enemies above his level. Young Master Qin, please believe my father. Qin Feng appreciated the two's good intentions, but from his perspective, he had the highest chance of winning if he went up. Although Yu Hailong was a top-notch expert in the Blue Island region and could easily kill enemies above his level, the Blue Island was just a sea region in the South Pingzhou region. Even in this deep sea city, not many people had heard of the Blue Island. On the other hand, Longbin was a local cultivator of Deep Sea City. He was able to step into the cauldron-filling state in the heart of the God-Fall Sea, which was filled with danger, so he must have experienced more hardships than other cultivators of the same level. Yu Hailong was clearly not his match. Senior Yu, I will remember your good intentions. But this time, we are saving my friend, so I will fight personally. No matter if I win or lose, I will feel better. Since Qin Feng said this, Yu Hailong could only sigh and didn't say anything more. Seeing that Qin Feng was determined to fight, Dragon Ear was very excited. Haha, this is the first time I see a cultivator so eager to die. In that case, I will fulfill your wish. As soon as he finished speaking, Dragon Ear stepped on a black flying sword and rushed towards the training field in the distance. Qin Feng immediately followed. Half an hour later, there were hundreds of cultivators surrounding the training field. They all came from Deep Sea Furnace Trading Company to watch the show. Another life and death battle. Isn't that old man Dragon Ear of Deep Sea Furnace Trading Company? He has reached body condensation state middle stage and can be considered a genius beast cultivator. Someone actually dares to challenge Dragon Sea Gang. Doesn't he know that Dragon Sea Gang has more than 10 cauldron filling state experts and disaster transformation state experts? Damn, am I seeing things? The person challenging Dragon Ear is a hollow spirit state level 3 human cultivator. More and more cultivators gathered around the training field. A hollow spirit state level 3 human ant challenging a body condensation state middle stage Dragon Sea Gang's little elder. Just this gimmick was enough to make many cultivators curious. Sigh. Young hero Qin is too rash this time. Yu Duo shook his head and sighed. Yu Hailong's expression was solemn. He even started to think of a plan if Qin Feng lost. After thinking for a while, he transmitted his voice to Li Shanshan and the others. You guys go to the exit of Deep Sea City first. When young hero Qin is in danger, I will save him and meet up with you guys. We will escape together. Qin Huang and the others smiled bitterly. They believed that Qin Feng could easily kill Dragon Ear. Plus, if Qin Feng really lost to Dragon Ear, they wouldn't leave alone. They would definitely charge up together to avenge Qin Feng. Even if they died, they would die together. Young hero Qin, why don't you leave? Don't worry about me. President He Yao was also brought over. He was still locked in that narrow cage. He remembered that when he sent Qin Feng to the South Flat Continent 3 years ago, Qin Feng was only at the Buddha Light Realm. In just 3 short years, Qin Feng had stepped into the Nihility God Realm Level 3 and reached the same realm as him. This cultivation speed shocked He Yao. Even though Qin Feng had become a hollow spirit state, He Yao didn't believe that he could defeat Dragon Ear, who was at the middle stage of body condensation state. Now that Qin Feng was willing to risk his life to fight for him, He Yao was already very grateful. And if you have any last words, you won't have the chance later. Dragon Ear was afraid that Qin Feng would go back on his words, so he interrupted He Yao. Qin Feng naturally wouldn't back down. He stood on the stage and stared at Dragon Ear. I know I can't defeat you, but I'm not afraid of death. Since my friends have been captured by you, I will fight for them. If I really die, then the conflict between us will be over, and the Dragon Sea Gang won't make things difficult for my other friends. Haha, at least you know your place. Don't worry, your 2 wives are beautiful. After I kill you, I will help you take care of them. Dragon Ear laughed wildly. Li Shanshan and Hua Xianyu's expressions were cold. They stared at Dragon Ear in disgust. If Qin Feng really died, they wouldn't let anyone benefit even if they killed themselves. Coldness flashed in Qin Feng's eyes, and he returned to normal. He purposely lowered his stance to make Dragon Ear lower his guard. When he fought with Celestial Gourd Great Elder Mu Feng, although he killed Mu Feng in the end, he had used up all his trump cards. Now that he was facing a hollow spirit state level 6 beast cultivator, Qin Feng didn't have much confidence. He knew that he only had one chance, and he had to kill him in one move. Otherwise, when Dragon Ear came back to his senses, it would be extremely difficult to kill him. Cut the crap, let's begin. Qin Feng's expression was cold. Dragon Ear was beside himself with joy. Haha, are you in such a hurry to die? Or are you worried that I won't treat your two wives well enough? Don't worry, I'll definitely pamper the two of them every night. Chapter 2019. Qin Fun was furious, but he forced himself to calm down. With a slight movement of his mind, the magnetic field around him changed dramatically in an instant. A strange energy fluctuation rose in the training field and rushed toward the dragon ear at an extremely fast speed. However, Dragon Ear was still laughing at the sky, unaware of the impending death. Anyone who insults my woman must die. Qin Fun roared, and the martial arts field was completely formed. A strange-looking straight stone appeared in his hand, and he swung it down from the sky. The purple light was like the afterglow of the sunset, and it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Be it the true spirit realm cultivators or the body condensation realm cultivators, they were all deeply intoxicated by the light, and their eyes became empty. However, this sword light was not as gentle as it looked. It was filled with killing intent. When the sword light approached Dragon Ear's body, he suddenly woke up and immediately took out a defensive artifact to block the sword's power. Dragon Ear's expression changed instantly, and he found that his body had been imprisoned. What's going on? You've comprehended the realm? Boom! As soon as Dragon Ear's voice fell, the sword light brought with it a fierce true essence explosion, and the two spiritual armors on his body were instantly shattered. His clothes were tattered, and his flesh was covered in cracks and blood. His long hair was disheveled, and he looked extremely miserable. The crowd screamed, "What's going on? Was Senior Dragon Ear beaten up?" I heard Senior Dragon Ear say that the kid has comprehended the realm. How is that possible? He just stepped into the empty god realm. Not only did he comprehend the realm, but he was also able to trap Elder Dragon Ear. Obviously, he has achieved minor success in the realm. Even Yu Duo and Yu Hailong were shocked. The situation in front of them was completely different from what they had expected. When Yu Hailong used his divine sense to scan the martial arts field, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Others might not be able to see what Qin Fun had displayed, but he could clearly feel that it was minor success in the realm, minor success in the field. Young hero Qin has achieved minor success in the field. How old is he? Not to mention, he is only at the empty God realm level 3, and yet he managed to comprehend it to minor success. I'm afraid there is no one else with this kind of talent and comprehension in the Divine Supreme Continent, Yu Hailong muttered to himself. On the training field, Qin Fun had no time to pay attention to the heated discussions of the cultivators below the stage. His strategy was to end the battle as soon as possible. Otherwise, if Dragon Ear reacted, he might be able to use the huge gap between their cultivation levels to forcefully break through the field he had created. As soon as the ruler fell, Qin Fun immediately slashed again. This time, it brought forth an even more dazzling purple saber chi, which once again trapped a group of cultivators with lower cultivation bases. Dragon Ear was not in the mood to appreciate the light at all. He had already realized that he was trapped, and Qin Fun was much stronger than he had imagined. That wild blade energy was not the power of a hollow god state cultivator. It was the power of a body condensation state cultivator. You're courting death. I'm going to tear you to pieces. Dragon Ear roared as if he had gone mad. His body suddenly ignited with true fire, and as the flames burned, the blood in his body floated out of his skin like steam. As the blood burned, the true essence in his body became more and more intense, as if 1,000 waves were rolling up behind him. Ka! Ka ka! Qin Fun heard a slight crisp sound, which was the crack in his field. What he was worried about had happened. Dragon Ear had actually burned his essence blood to break through the field he had created. However, the cracking sound was not loud, and the space where the field had cracked was very small. In fact, the speed of the cracking could not even compare to the speed at which the field repaired itself. Qin Fun did not have time to think, and immediately slashed down again. This time, he used the shadowless blade skill through the ruler. The originally traceless blade shadow now had a purple glow. However, the split glow was very fast, as if thousands of meteors were falling across the sky. The entire training field seemed to be covered by the blade light. The dazzling scene was so dazzling that people completely forgot about the fierce killing intent hidden in the blade light. How dare you! Dragon Ear's cultivation level was still able to maintain his calm, and he was not brainwashed by the ruler. But just as he shouted, several purple lights exploded on his body, and a ferocious, true essence crazily exploded. His flesh and blood flew everywhere in front of everyone's eyes, and in the end, even his appearance was too horrible to look at. No, if this isn't a realm, what is it? The entire training field was filled with explosions and dragon ear screams. Only now did he realize the truth, but he did not dare to believe it. If Qin wasn't using a realm, then what was it? Could it be the field? He was just a hollow spirit state level 3 cultivator. How could he comprehend the existence of a field? Just as Dragon Ear was puzzled, Long Bin's angry roar came from outside. No wonder you dared to challenge him. You actually comprehended the existence of a field. I advise you to stop now. If you dare to kill junior brother Dragon Ear, the Dragon Sea Gang will chase you to the ends of the earth and kill you. Field? The crowd was shocked and revealed complicated expressions. Most of the cultivators who were watching thought that Qin was using a realm. Qin talent and comprehension had already shocked everyone, but now they heard Cauldron Filling State's senior Long Bin say that it was a field. This was simply unimaginable. Dragon Ear was dazed on the training field, and he did not even have the thought to resist. His current body condensation state, level 6 cultivation, was only at the initial success stage. If Qin was really using a field, then even if he fought with his life, he would not be able to escape. Since this is a life and death battle, how can it end without someone dying? If your Sea Dragon Gang wants to take revenge on me, I will accompany you anytime. When Dragon Ear spoke rudely to Li Shanshan and Hua Xianyu, he was already a dead man in Qin eyes. Now that the time was right, how could Qin be intimidated by Long Bin's words? He did not hold back anymore, and the ruler in his hand turned into countless bright purple rays that shot out. Instantly, the entire training field was covered in purple light, like a beautiful scene under the setting sun. Rumble. This beautiful scene hid endless killing intent, and some killing intent spread out from the field, instantly waking up the cultivators around the training field. Such a strong killing intent. How is this a hollow spirit state cultivator? His aura is even fiercer than a body condensation state cultivator. A hollow spirit state level 3 cultivator can comprehend a field? I'm a bit confused. Qin, I really want to know who he is. He is the senior Qin who challenged the sword domain to the 5th level not long ago, and then had the sword domain destroyed. The crowd was in an uproar. This battle was full of ups and downs, and it could be said to be the most exciting battle everyone had ever seen. When the endless purple light covered Dragon Ear's body, he did not even have time to scream before his body exploded. In the end, even his primordial spirit that was fleeing in panic disappeared in the aftermath of the explosion. A body condensation state middle stage cultivator died, just like that, in less than 15 minutes. And the person who killed this cultivator was only a hollow spirit state level 3 youth. Even though they saw it with their own eyes, many people found it hard to accept. Chapter 2020. How dare you kill the young elder of the Dragon Sea Gang? You're courting death. Once Dragon Ear died, Long Bin's body surged with true yuan. His aura was like a rolling tsunami, intimidating everyone. But before he could attack, Long Chung stepped forward to stop him. Senior brother, calm down. This is Deep Sea City. Long Bin suddenly woke up with a start, and a lingering fear rose in his heart. Even though he had already stepped into the 4th level of the cauldron-filling realm, the thought of the few great guardians of Deep Sea City and the mysterious city Lord made him break out in cold sweat. Yu Hailong and the rest had already arrived at Qin Feng's side, staring at the Dragon Sea gang members. Even the immortal Qi realm Qin Huang and the rest did not retreat. This is Deep Sea City. All killing is forbidden here. Dragon Ear and young hero Qin challenged each other willingly. Life and death are up to fate. Yu Hailong said, now that young hero Qin has won, his good friend belongs to him. Hurry up and let him go. The Dragon Sea gang members gritted their teeth in anger. Before this, no one had expected Dragon Ear to lose to Qin Feng. The Dragon Sea gang will remember this. Just you wait and see. Long Bin glared at Qin Feng and Yu Hailong, then left angrily. The rest followed. When they passed Qin Feng, they would glare at him, but Qin Feng ignored them. Young hero Qin, it's all thanks to you. Dark Light knew that he had regained his freedom, and his gratitude was indescribable. Qin Feng immediately opened the restriction on the iron cage and helped him out. This is not the place to talk. Follow me back first. Dark Light nodded, and the group followed Qin Feng back to the inn. On the way back, Qin Feng had too many questions. How did President Dark Light, one of the strongest people in the northern sand region, end up in such a state? When they reached the inn, Qin Feng immediately set up a few defensive and soundproof formations and started asking questions. President Darklight, why are you here? Darklight's expression dimmed, and he shook his head and sighed. Sigh. Young hero Qin, in the first year you left the northern sand region, those 5-star families started to move. Seeing that you did not appear, they formed an alliance to attack Hero City. Qin Feng became nervous. And then? Are the people in Hero City all right? He Yao nodded and continued. Young swordsman Qin, don't be anxious. Listen to me first. The people in Hero City are still alive. At that time, many 5-star sects and some merchant associations gathered in Hero City. However, they discovered that there was a level 6 defense formation set up in the city. This kind of defense formation is rare in the northern sand continent. Later on, Dong Xuanzi discovered the secret of the Hero City. The city seemed to have an extremely special energy that could continuously repair the rank 6 defense formation. Later on, Reverend Barefoot brought a few ethereal god realm experts to help the Hero City. Both sides were in a stalemate. One day, half a year ago, the Dragon Soul Merchant Guild joined in the attack on Hero City, and the Dragon Soul found a powerful body condensation cultivator from somewhere, instantly alerting the entire northern sand region. With the help of the powerful body condensation cultivator, the Class 6 defensive formation was finally broken, and a huge battle began. The northern sand region suffered heavy casualties. Qin Feng really wanted to ask how Lin Bei and the rest were doing, but he suppressed his urge and continued listening to He Yao. Before the battle ended, there was a huge change in the northern sand region. Due to the death of a few immortal venerables, the top cultivation forces in the entire northern sand region were reduced by half. However, at this crucial moment, the beast cultivators from the islands near the Godfall Ocean attacked the northern sand region, causing an unprecedentedly huge beast horde. The cultivators of the northern sand region immediately joined forces to fight against the beast horde, but they were outnumbered. Most of the territory was occupied by the beast cultivators. Hearing this, Qin Feng's expression changed drastically. He had never expected that in less than 3 years since he left the northern sands region, so many things had happened there. After Hero City was destroyed, where did the people in the city go? Are my family and friends still alive? Qin Feng asked anxiously. He Yao said with certainty Hero City wasn't destroyed. Your family and friends should be fine. However, after the attack, the city was locked. Even I couldn't get in, so I don't know the exact situation inside. Qin Feng was confused. President He Yao, didn't you say that Dragon Soul found a body condensation state almighty to break the defense formation of Hero City? They did break the defense formation, but when Dragon Soul and the others charged in, there was no one in the city. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. Then there was a beast tide, and someone realized that the defense formation of Hero City had been restored. The people in the city had returned, Darklight said. Qin Feng immediately understood. When he left the northern sand region, he was afraid that Dong Xuanzi and the others would cause trouble for Hero City. So he set up a level 4 teleportation formation behind spiritual Immortal Mountain that could teleport people thousands of miles away. Linbei Bei and the others must have left through the teleportation formation. Then, when the beast horde occurred, they used the teleportation formation to return to Hero City. There were actually 2 level 6 defense formations in Hero City. One was visible and the other was hidden by Qin Feng. Thinking about what had happened, Qin Feng felt fortunate. Luckily, he was careful, otherwise Linbei Bei and the others would have ended up in a terrible state. Right, Hero Qin, what is your cultivation now? After talking about the northern sand region, He Yao asked the question that he had been suppressing for a long time. Hollow God Stage Level 3 that you saw. Qin Feng said honestly. He Yao shook his head. Impossible. Hero Qin killed a body condensation state middle stage beast cultivator not long ago. You are at least body condensation state late stage. This isn't something that can be explained in a few words. I am indeed Hollow God Stage Level 3, but I can kill a body condensation state almighty being. Oh my god, there is such a thing? Northern Sand Region expert He Yao was shocked by Qin Feng. Qin Feng didn't want to talk too much about his cultivation. He was more concerned about the situation in the Northern Sand Region. Although according to He Yao, Linbei Bei and the others were temporarily safe after returning to Hero City, the entire Northern Sand Region had a beast horde and half of the land was occupied by beast cultivators. Even if there was a level 6 defense formation in Hero City, it would be breached sooner or later. Only Qin Feng knew why Dong Xiansu and the others couldn't break the defense formation. It was because he had left 2 energy star stones in Hero City before he left. Energy star stones were the best material to store energy in the universe. They were hundreds of times more powerful than the highest grade spirit stones in the Divine Supreme Mainland. It was because of the energy star stones that the defense formation could repair itself so quickly. However, the energy star stones had a limit. Qin Feng was worried that the energy in the 2 stones would be depleted. If that happened, Hero City would be destroyed, and Linbei Bei and the others wouldn't have a good ending. This isn't right. Why didn't the Beast Tide come earlier or later? Why did it have to come after the battle between Venerables? Qin Feng's eyes lit up. He Yao said with a serious expression, Young Hero Qin, you also noticed something fishy? Actually, I suspected that the Beast Horde was premeditated and purposely waited for the battle to trigger the Beast Horde attack. If that's the case, then Dragon Soul is the biggest suspect. He found a body condensation state almighty and broke Hero City's level 6 defense formation. It's also because the formation was broken that it triggered the battle between the 2 sides, Qin Feng analyzed. He Yao looked at Qin Feng with admiration and said, Young Hero Qin is right. After the Beast Horde attack, all the sects and forces in the Northern Sand region joined forces to fight against the enemy. Even Dong Xiansu and Barefoot Enlightened Being put aside their conflict. However, the soaring Dragon Chamber of Commerce, the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the Northern Sand region, didn't see them in the battle. The 2 continued to analyze and suspected that the Beast Horde in the Northern Sand region was related to the soaring Dragon Chamber of Commerce. However, it was useless even if they guessed it. The Beast Horde had already happened, and all the cultivators in the Northern Sand region were in deep trouble. They had to think of a way to pass the tribulation. President He Yao, why aren't you fighting against the Beast Horde in the Northern Sand region? Why are you at the heart of the fallen god sea? Qin Feng was confused. He Yao shook his head bitterly. Young Hero Qin, you've misunderstood me. As one of the few virtual gods in the Northern Sand region, I naturally have to be the first to fight against the Beast Horde. However, the Beast Horde was too ferocious. There were tens of millions of beast cultivators and thousands of virtual gods. The cultivators of the Northern Sand region were no match for them at all. Dong Xiansu and the rest of the Immortal Lords escaped first. The rest of the cultivators couldn't even withstand a single blow. No one had the heart to fight against the enemy and escaped from the Northern Sand region. I escaped all the way to the heart of the fallen god CC and planned to seek refuge in the South Flat region. However, I was captured by the Dragon Sea clan and made into a cauldron. Young hero Qin, you know what happened after that. After the conversation, Qin Feng's mood was extremely heavy. He wanted to go back to the Northern Sand region immediately. According to He Yao, the Beast Horde had happened half a year ago. It had already been half a year. Could Hero City still hold on? However, no matter how anxious he couldn't leave Deep Sea City now. The Death Sea spiral was still ongoing. It wouldn't subside without 3 to 5 days. Moreover, it took him 3 months to fly from the South Flat region to the heart of the fallen god CC. It would take him at least 3 months to fly back to the Northern Sand region. Young hero Qin, what do you plan to do next? He Yao's eyes were dim. He didn't have his usual elegance. It was obvious that the Beast Horde had dealt a huge blow to his confidence. I want to go back to the Northern Sand region to subside the Beast Horde and save my friends and family, Qin Feng said without hesitation. He Yao sighed. Sigh. Young hero Qin, I can understand how you feel. You're not the only one who has friends and family in the Northern Sand region. How can I not have friends and family in the Northern Sand region? However, with our abilities, we'll just be sending ourselves to our deaths if we go back. You didn't see the Beast Horde. You won't understand how terrifying it is. Qin Feng said resolutely, even if I die, I want to go back. If my friends and family are gone, what's the point of living? I won't stop you from leaving or staying. However, I have a way to cure your Dantian. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.